The Uzumaki Tales. Return of the Whirlpool. Book 1. Chapter 1. This year's new Genin teams. Today was the day. Today was March 5th, the day that this year's class would finally end their time in the academy and become full-fledged ninja of the village. The graduation exams had been held just 2 days ago with all but one student graduating. This student was Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto was the village prankster and the class clown. He was also considered the dead last of the class, and everyone thought of him and his proclaiming that he would become Hokage as a complete and utter joke. No matter how much Naruto tried, he couldn't manage to succeed for some reason. Even the simplest jutsu, such as the clone jutsu, were too much for Naruto, and as such, Iruka was reluctantly forced to fail Naruto. Iruka didn't want to fail the blonde child that he had become emotionally attached to, but seeing as the child had failed to perform even the simplest jutsu, was forced to decide that Naruto was not quite ready to be a ninja. Frankly, Iruka was beginning to doubt that Naruto would ever be able to graduate. And then that event happened. On the evening of March 3rd, Naruto stole the forbidden scroll of sealing as an attempt to earn some extra credit and pass the exam. It was on this night that Iruka and Naruto did battle with the traitorous Mizuki, one of the now former academy teacher. It was also on this night that Naruto finally learned why his life had practically been a living hell. He was the Kyuubi no Kitsune, or rather the Kyuubi was sealed inside him. Just under 12 years ago, the Kyuubi no Kitsune attacked the village, resulting in many deaths and a great deal of destruction. Seeing no other way to defeat the beast, the Yondaime Hokage, the greatest shinobi of his time, sealed away the great beast into a newborn infant. This infant was Uzumaki Naruto. Now, Naruto wasn't the Kyuubi, nor was he some manifestation of the Kyuubi. The Yondaime had made one last wish, that Naruto be regarded as a hero of the village for keeping the Kyuubi at bay. Unfortunately, the Yondaime's dying wish was ignored and the village began to torment the child. This upset the Sandaime Hokage, who had returned to his former position after the death of his successor, and many laws were enacted. The most notable was to forbid the village from even mentioning the Kyuubi. Unfortunately, this resulted in the village shunning Naruto, leaving him to contemplate why the village hated him. What was worse was that the child was an orphan, not knowing the love that only a parent could give him. Whenever he would ask the Sandaime about his parents, the Hokage would just bypass the answer to the question by saying they were great people. This and the shroud of secrets surrounding Naruto only served to further the young child's misery. And then it happened. After years of constantly failing to master even the simplest of jutsu, Naruto finally did it. In a time where his and his sensei's life, one of the few people who had actually acknowledged him, Naruto finally performed the clone jutsu, or rather the shadow clone jutsu. This was a Jonin-level technique that told Iruka enough, Naruto was in fact ready to become a ninja. As such, Iruka decided to pass Naruto by giving him the leaf headband off his own head. Looking around the classroom, Iruka couldn't help but feel an overwhelming sense of pride come to him. All 27 students in his class had managed to pass. This was a rare accomplishment that he would be sure to rub in the face of the other teachers later. He only wished that all of his class would become true genin. "Alright class, I would like to congratulate you all for becoming ninja," the instructor announced. "I have your team assignments right here. After I call out your teams, you will be dismissed for the morning and report back here this afternoon to meet your new senseis." With that, Iruka began announcing the team assignments. Team 7 will be Haruno Sakura, Uzumaki Naruto, and Uchiha Sasuke. Sakura was happy that she was on Sasuke's team, but mad that Naruto was also there. Naruto was happy for being with Sakura, but mad that he got stuck with Sasuke. Sasuke, well, he hated both of them. Hinata was also a little disappointed that she would not be with Naruto. Team 8 will be Hyuga Hinata, Inuzuka Kiba, and Aburame Shino. Team 10 will be Yamanaka Ino, Nara Shikamaru, and Akamichi Choji. The class was dismissed. With the newly minted genin given the rest of the morning off, Naruto figured now would be a good time to ask his crush and now teammate, Haruno Sakura, to grab lunch with him. Unfortunately, this turned out like any other attempt to get to spend some time with her. She rejected him, rather harshly. It was no secret who Sakura liked, as it was the same guy most of the other girls in his class. She was an avid fangirl of Naruto's other teammate, Uchiha Sasuke. Naruto didn't like Sasuke, simply because of all the attention Sasuke got and the slight rivalry the two had developed during the academy, although Naruto constantly got his ass handed to him by said Uchiha. Unfortunately for Sakura, she was shot down just as harshly when she tried to see if Sasuke wanted to grab lunch. Instead, Sasuke simply went off to brood about some unknown issue. It was then that she realized what she was treating Naruto like. In fact, this actually got her to think about being nicer to the blonde the next time they ran into each other. All of the genin met back at the classroom after lunch break and awaited for their new senseis to come and collect them. While the other teams left with their senseis, Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke were left alone in the classroom, waiting, and waiting, and waiting. They had been waiting for just over 2 hours before someone finally came into the room. It was their Jonin sensei, who had somehow managed to fall for one of Naruto's more obvious and ridiculous traps. Naruto had wedged an eraser in the door, which would fall when the door opened. For Naruto, the trap worked perfectly and their new sensei was bonked square on the head as the eraser bounced off his gravity-defying silver hair. For their sensei, this gave him a bad fist impression. All he really said to them was, "My first impression is, I don't like you," before taking them away to the roof of the academy for introductions. Their sensei went first, introducing himself as Hitaki Kakashi, a Jonin in Konoha. Unfortunately, this was all Team 7 got out of their sensei as the remainder of his answers were rather vague. Naruto followed up. Unlike Kakashi, Naruto basically read off his autobiography for the most part, stating his dream to become Hokage and his absolute love for ramen. His hobbies included eating ramen and pulling pranks. Kakashi sent him an intriguing look, almost as if he knew Naruto from a long time ago and was slightly curious as to how the boy had grown. Sakura was next. Like Naruto, she didn't hold back, although she really didn't say much. No, her expressions told the entire story. In short, she was a die-hard Sasuke Uchiha fangirl, who was probably only here to impress Sasuke. Sasuke finished off the introductions. His introduction was much darker than the two before him, stating that he disliked many things and liked very few things. His dream, or should I say ambition, was to kill a certain man and to rebuild his clan. A ramen-obsessed failure, an emo avenger, and an obsessive fangirl, thought Kakashi as he made his impressions on the team sitting in front of him. Sadly, this was going to be like every other team, they would fail his exam. He hated to do it as one of the children given to him was the last member of his late friend and former teammate, Uchiha Obito, and his senseis. Well, I'm not allowed to talk about that because of the Sandame's laws. Kakashi gave his team the dreaded news of the actual genin exam, telling them to meet him at Training Ground 7 tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. This test would determine if they were amongst the 33% of their class that passed the exam. Oh, and he told them not to eat breakfast or else they would throw up. Kakashi was a lazy liar. That was Team 7's second impression of Kakashi and one that they got before beginning the exam. They were told to meet up at 8 o'clock, but Kakashi didn't even bother showing until just after 10 o'clock. Furthermore, the "don't eat breakfast" part turned out to be a trick to simply make them suffer more. Kakashi explained to them that the objective of this test was to obtain the 2 bells that he had tied to the side of his belt. However, because there were only 2 bells, only 2 people would pass while the third would be sent back to the academy. That is if they even managed to get a bell. Instantly, Naruto began to shout out against this, questioning the whole point of the test. Kakashi began the exam, giving them until noon to take the bells from him. As soon as he started, Sakura and Sasuke darted off into the trees to conceal themselves like a true ninja would. As for the third member of the team, well, "Come and fight me," declared Naruto, not even bothering to hide himself. Baka. Both Sasuke and Sakura though, observing Naruto from their hiding spots. Naruto charged as the one-eyed Jonin only to halt when Kakashi reached into his back pouch for what seemed like a weapon. To Naruto's slight disappointment, it was an orange-colored book titled, Icha Icha Paradise. After overcoming his initial confusion, Naruto resumed his attack, hoping to teach the Jonin a lesson for underestimating him. Kakashi managed to dodge every single blow with minimal effort, if even that, not even having to take his eye off the book. "A ninja isn't supposed to get caught from behind, idiot," Kakashi said, appearing in a crouching position behind Naruto. Kakashi made a quick hand seal as Naruto tried to react in time. Too late. Hidden technique. 1,000 years of pain. Naruto was sent flying while Sakura and Sasuke just looked on in embarrassment. All Kakashi had really done was poke Naruto in the ass, sending him flying into the stream in the training ground. "You sure are weak for someone wanting to become Hokage," taunted Kakashi as it became obvious that the blonde wasn't surfacing anytime soon. "Shut it, you. I'm going to make you acknowledge me," shouted Naruto as half a dozen Narutos burst out of the water. For the first time since meeting his team, Kakashi was actually slightly surprised. Even Sasuke and Sakura were amazed by the fact that Naruto had managed to pull off this many clones, and not just normal clones, but physical ones. "You still can't beat me with that jutsu," Kakashi said as the 8 Narutos charged at Kakashi. Before he knew it, a 7th Naruto had grabbed Kakashi from behind. "Weren't ninjas not supposed to get caught from behind? Right, Kakashi-sensei?" Naruto said ironically. "Here comes revenge for poking my ass like that." Even Sasuke admitted that Naruto had come up with a decent plan. Naruto made a fist and punched Kakashi, only to realize that he had punched one of his clones. Before anyone knew what was happening, the Narutos were beating up each other. Kakashi had used a substitution jutsu to get out of that mess. Naruto spent the next few minutes trying to find where Kakashi went. To his delight, he found one of the bells sitting by the base of a tree. He dropped a bell," Naruto said, reaching for the bell. Next thing he knew, he was pulled into the air by a rope. He had just walked right into a trap. Kakashi then appeared and picked up the bell. 1 down, 2 to go. Seeing his opening, Sasuke unleashed a barrage of shuriken upon Kakashi. All of them hit their mark as Kakashi was pinned into a nearby tree with half a dozen shuriken sticking out of his head. Poof! Kakashi turned into a log, using a substitution jutsu to avoid any damage. Sasuke was cursing as he had just given up his position. Panicking, Sasuke bolted out of his hiding spot as Sakura did the same, not wanting to lose sight of her crush. Sakura quickly lost sight of Sasuke, only to find herself in Kakashi's trap. "Hello, Sakura," said Kakashi, appearing behind her as she was caught in a swirl of leaves. The next thing Sakura saw was a beaten and bruised Sasuke crawling out of the bushes, roughly a few dozen kunai and shuriken sticking out of her body. And then he collapsed to the ground, dead. Sakura cried out in horror as she lost consciousness due to the genjutsu placed on her. 2 down, 1 Uchiha left. Kakashi moved to the next clearing, tripping a wire and sending a barrage of knives at him. He easily dodged the trap that Sasuke must have set for him. When Kakashi recovered, he quickly found himself engaged in a taijutsu battle with Sasuke. Kakashi easily repelled Sasuke's attacks and Sasuke was forced to resort to something Kakashi really was not expecting. "Fire style. Great fireball jutsu," shouted Sasuke. Genin fresh out of the academy weren't supposed to know jutsu on this level. It was surprising that Naruto knew the shadow clone jutsu, but the fact that Sasuke also knew an advanced jutsu. He was beginning to hate the fact that he would be forced to fail them in less than an hour now. The flames died down and Sasuke couldn't see any sign of Kakashi anywhere, that is until a pair of arms came shooting up out of the ground, dragging Sasuke into the ground so that he was buried up to his head. 3 down. Shortly after, the 3 academy students found themselves back at the posts with Kakashi facing them. Sasuke and Sakura were sitting against 2 posts and Naruto had somehow managed to get himself tied to 1 post. Kakashi gave them a quick lecture about not working together, emphasizing his point by telling Sakura to kill Naruto or he would kill Sasuke. He didn't actually mean it, but it was just to help prove his point. Kakashi agreed to give the 3 one more chance, as long as they did not share their lunch with Naruto. After much complaining, Sasuke decided to go against Kakashi's rule and offered Naruto his lunch. Sakura quickly followed and Kakashi caught them in the act. The 3 of them prepared themselves for the punishment and Kakashi delivered. They passed. They were now officially ninja of Konoha. Yuhi Kuranai had been assigned to Team 8, consisting of Hinata, Shino, and Kiba. Like the other Jonin, she had been tasked with determining whether or not her team had the potential to become an actual team of shinobi. Hinata was the current heir of the Hyuga clan, currently the most powerful clan in Konoha. However, Her father had labeled her as a failure due to her lack of skills and her shy and timid nature. As such, her father, Hiyashi, had assigned Kuranai to watch over Hinata since a few years ago while he shifted most of his attention to his younger daughter, Hanabi. Kuranai wasn't too fond of the treatment Hinata had received at home, and she was sure her father still cared for his daughter. However, clan politics had gotten in the way of what's best for Hinata. Kuranai took this as a challenge, determined to make Hinata into a kunoichi that the Hyuga clan would regret casting aside. It was for this sole reason that she would most likely pass her team, even before she tested them. Kiba was the younger of the two children in the Inuzuka's main family. For years, the Inuzukas were renowned through Konoha for producing some of the best hunter ninjas in the shinobi world. Their relationships with dogs made them ideal for tracking, and their own senses were more beast-like as well. Kiba's own sense of smell was about 100x more powerful than humans, not nearly as strong as a dog's, but still. Shino was the final member of her team. He was the clan heir to the Aburame clan. The Aburame were, in a sense, outcasted by some of the population of Konoha as they lived in symbiosis with insects, allowing the insects to live inside their own body. However, much of the shinobi population knew of the potential the Aburames possessed, and as such, they had a great deal of respect for the clan. Shino's knowledge of the insect world and ability to make use of the faint chemical signals found in insect pheromones made him a valuable member in a team that was destined to become a great tracking team, if not the best. Kuranai saw the potential in this team to be great. She would put very little effort in testing them, as she was pretty much set on passing them the moment she was assigned this team. Sarutobi Asuma had been assigned to the clan heirs of the Yamanaka, Nara, and Akamichi clans, as per tradition. Ino, Shikamaru, and Choji were the selected members of each clan who were destined to form the next generation of the Ino-Shika-Cho trio. Konoha's legendary combo rivaled only by the Raikage and his brother in terms of teamwork. Ino was, and still was, one of Sasuke's biggest fangirls. Like all the other Sasuke fangirls, this held back her own potential. If she could just focus more on her shinobi career and less on the last Uchiha, she would be one hell of a kunoichi. Shikamaru, like the rest of the male populace in his clan, was extremely lazy yet possessed superior intelligence that was seen nowhere else. Like Ino, Shikamaru had immense potential, but he held himself back as it would be too much effort for him to care about much else. Choji was the final member of his team. Choji was the heir of the Akamichi clan. The main problem with Choji, however, is that he cared more for food than shinobi training. Sadly, this was common in the Akamichi clan. Asuma would likely pass this team as well without much evaluation. He knew the three of them were destined to work together, like the generations before them. All he had to do was to get them out of their own little worlds and start working together. Once that happened, his team would be a force to be reckoned with. Sarutobi Hiruzen, the Sandaime Hokage, gathered all of the Jonin instructors assigned to this year's class. Like in the past, there was only about a 33% pass rate for all of the teams. In particular, the most notable team that passed was Kakashi's team. He had been assigned to test genin teams for the past 7 years and all of them had failed, miserably. However, this team had managed to pass. Many Jonin credited it to the fact that the Uchiha was assigned to him. Out of the nearly 1,000 students who graduated this year, only 300, or 100 teams, were actually going to become genin. Chapter 2. A ninja, finally. Naruto awoke early the next morning. He had finally done it. He was now officially a ninja. Yesterday, he and his team, Sakura Haruno and Sasuke Teme Uchiha, had passed the true genin exam and they were slated to start as true ninja today. Naruto went through his usual morning routine before leaving his apartment to meet up with his team. Meeting up at the training ground, he found that Sasuke and Sakura had already arrived, but Kakashi was nowhere to be seen. He remembered from the past 2 days that Kakashi had been late by at least 2 hours. Hopefully this wouldn't be a regular occurrence. Sadly it was. "You're late," shouted Naruto and Sakura simultaneously as Kakashi arrived 2 hours late. "Sorry guys, you see there was this old lady who needed help crossing the street and then she needed help." Kakashi was interrupted. "Can it?" shouted Sakura. "Yeah, come on sensei. What sort of cool ninja stuff are we going to be doing today?" asked Naruto. "Well, someone looks eager to get started. So we will. Today we will be working on your teamwork," said Kakashi. Huh? All three of them looked at Kakashi with a dumbfounded look. Why do we need to do that? Come on, we are ninja now. Can't we get either an exciting mission or a cool new jutsu? Asked Naruto. No, not today anyways. I told you yesterday that the three of you will be working together in a team, so we will work on making sure the three of you can work together, said Kakashi. But come on Kakashi, we are ninja now, argued Naruto. No, buts, you are ninja and as ninja, you need to work together in teams, explained Kakashi. Do you have a problem, or would you rather go back to the academy? No, teamwork is great, said Naruto sarcastically. For the rest of the week, Kakashi had them working on simple trust exercises, such as throwing a ball back and forth blindfolded or having someone guide another around a course while the one being guided was blindfolded. For the most part, these exercises went smooth, for the first hour that is. There came a point every time when Naruto would become fed up with the exercise and slip up somehow, creating tension within the group. Most of this tension was between him and Sasuke, with Sakura siding with Sasuke, always. As such, the exercise would go downhill from there. Kakashi sighed at his team's progress. Perhaps a mission might help things out. He had the right mission in mind that was designed to serve as a good first mission and help build teamwork. Is everyone in position? Kakashi called out through the wireless radios his team was wearing. I'm ready, called out Sakura. I'm in position, said Sasuke. I'm here, replied Naruto. All right. Where's the target? Asked Kakashi. Target is 5 meters. We are ready to go, said Sasuke. All right, on my mark, go, ordered Kakashi. With that, the three newly minted genin dove forward on their target. Naruto came up the one to catch it, although he was wishing he hadn't. Their target just so happened to be a pretty angry cat, known around the village as Tora, the fire daimyo's wife's pet and the demon cat of the leaf. Team 7 reported that they had caught the intended cat, indicating that it had a pink ribbon in its ear. They quickly made their way back to the Konoha mission hall and Naruto couldn't get rid of the cat any sooner. By the time Tora was back in the suffocating arms of its owner, Naruto's face looked like it had just been put through a blender 5 times over. Kakashi called that enough for the day, citing Naruto's health as an excuse to dismiss his team for the day and to read his book. Before leaving, Iruka, who had been stationed to give out missions that day, asked Naruto if he wanted to get ramen later. Naruto gratefully accepted Iruka's offer. So Naruto, tell me, how was your first week of being a ninja? Asked Iruka. You know, I thought it would be better, but all Kakashi-sensei has us doing our stupid teamwork exercises and then we get that mission, said Naruto, rubbing his face. My face still hurts. Ah yes, the infamous capture Tora mission, said Iruka. Wait, did you have to do that mission as well? Asked Naruto. Iruka cringed a little as he recalled the full memory. Yeah, that cat has a history of getting away from its owner. Naruto laughed. I can see why. That lady was practically suffocating the cat. Serves it right, said Naruto. Now Naruto, be nice. That lady is the wife of the fire daimyo and you won't believe how much money that cat brings into the village, said Iruka. Naruto looked at Iruka a little confused. All right, I'll explain. People hire ninja to do tasks ranging from catching a pet cat, all the way up to assassinations. We assign a ninja team to these missions based on the assigned ranking and the clients pay us a commission. Out of the commission paid, you get a certain amount of it, as well as the rest of your team, and the village takes its cut. This is main way a ninja village makes money is through the service of our ninja. The price of a mission depends on a few things, but the two main factors are the intended length of the mission and the assigned difficulty. Now, missions are assigned a difficulty rank ranging from D all the way to S. As a genin, you will only be doing D ranks for now, but you may get a C rank or 2 in the future once begin to prove yourself. Do you understand? Yeah, I guess. But still, said Naruto. Iruka laughed. Don't worry, everyone has to go through D ranks. Think of it as a rite of passage that every ninja has to take. Eventually, there will be other ninja doing those missions and you will be doing things more exciting. Just stick with what you're given for now and eventually your time will come, said Iruka. Yeah, you're right. Besides, they can't all be as bad as catching that stupid cat. Just you watch, in no time I'll be kicking ass and saving nations. Datbeo! Exclaimed Naruto. Naruto was walking back from their daily training session. It had been just over a month since he became a ninja. His current schedule consisted of alternating between missions on one day and training on the other day, with a personal day for rest or whatever every week. Now this wouldn't have been so bad if it hadn't been for the missions they were stuck doing, or the training, if it was even that Kakashi had them doing. The missions were more of chores. In the past month, his team had accomplished 10 D ranks, which consisted of menial tasks such as painting fences, weeding gardens, delivering baked goods, picking up trash, and the worst of them all, catching that damned cat. Sure, Iruka-sensei told him a few weeks ago just to put up with them, but this seemed just like a waste of his amazing ninja talents. It was also on these missions where he always seemed to screw up somehow, and as a result, Sasuke had to come to his rescue, causing Sakura to fawn even more over Sasuke for acing so cool and heroic. Naruto would then get yelled at, usually by Sakura, for not taking things seriously. Well, perhaps if he was taken more seriously and given something that an actual ninja would do, then he would actually take the mission more serious. If the missions weren't enough, the training just made it worse. After getting out of the academy, Naruto was expecting to learn some really cool jutsu and ninja techniques, but Kakashi had them working on nothing more than team-building exercises. Today was an exercise where Kakashi had one of them blindfold the other, and then the non-blindfolded person would guide the blindfolded person around, directing them away from danger. Everything had started all right. He had been tasked with guiding a blindfolded Sasuke around an obstacle course in less than 15 minutes. Sure, he might have steered Sasuke into a few trees or off a log once or twice on accident, but that didn't warrant what he received when he and Sasuke swapped places. It only took about 5 minutes before Sasuke guided Naruto into the river, soaking him. From there, everything went downhill and the two boys ended up in a little bit of a fight, Sasuke coming out on top. Naruto cursed his misfortune, being stuck with Sasuke Teme and a sensei that couldn't care less for his career as a ninja. If Naruto was having a bad day, then Sasuke's wasn't much better. These menial D ranks were starting to get on his nerves as well. He needed to become stronger so that he could accomplish his goals, and these general labor tasks were not doing anything. In fact, if it wasn't for the Dobi and the obsessive fangirl, he could probably get them done faster and use the rest of the day to get in some useful training, but sadly that wasn't the case. During those missions, Naruto would usually find some way to mess up and he would be forced to save the blonde. However, Naruto wasn't the worst. At the very least, Naruto was trying, to some degree. He had to give him that. Sakura, on the other hand, was the worst of his two teammates. He hated how her attention was always focused on him and not the task at hand. If she would put even half the effort into the mission or bettering herself as a shinobi, then that would also better the success of the mission and he would have some time to train. Sasuke knew what Sakura was. She was a fangirl. Ever since the academy, he hated the fangirls. They did nothing but fawn left and right over him, coming up with ridiculous excuses to try and capture his attention. In fact, they had even gone as far to grow all of their hair because they heard that he liked girls with long hair. All the fangirls did was prove to be an unavoidable obstacle for him. If it wasn't for Sakura's constant nagging, he wouldn't have dropped Naruto into the creek. In reality, he couldn't care less. As part of his goal was to revive his clan, Sasuke knew that one day he would have to find a girl, or girls if the village forced the CRA on him, to help him. However, he didn't want this girl to be a brainless fangirl who practically worshipped the very ground he stood on. No, he wanted a girl that was strong in herself. He wanted someone who could stand against him and tell him he was wrong when he was. He wanted someone who didn't care if he was an Uchiha. Sakura was nowhere near that someone. Sasuke could also care less for the team-building exercises. To him, they were nothing more than a waste. He needed to kill someone, and in order to do such, he needed power. He needed training. Not this. He needed real training, and he needed real missions to test his abilities. Sakura was nearly the exact opposite in terms of Naruto and Sasuke when it came to these missions. She didn't mind the menial missions or the labor. In fact, she rather enjoyed them as it gave her an opportunity to spend some quality time with Sasuke. The only thing she disliked about the missions happened to be Naruto. He always seemed to get in the way of her and Sasuke. Sakura wasn't complaining so much. She had been slightly nervous when she started as a ninja, afraid that she would be thrown directly into some life-threatening situation. She had heard of the shinobi lifestyle from her father. He was a former shinobi, nothing special, who retired from that life a few years after she was born as he had nearly lost his life during a mission with their former sensei, Iruka. When she told her parents that she wanted to be a shinobi, they questioned her decision, but eventually ended up supporting her. Nonetheless, there was still a fear that she was getting in over her head. Regardless, this choice wasn't too bad as it put her on the same team as just about every 11 to 13-year-old girl's dream guy, Sasuke Uchiha. Naruto had just finished up dinner one night after yet another day of D ranks. It was now 6 weeks since his start as a ninja and he was really getting fed up with the current program. Kakashi still had them doing teamwork exercises with some physical conditioning involved. Yet, Kakashi still refused to teach them anything ninja-like. Coming out of Ichiraku, receiving some of the typical glares from the villagers, Naruto spotted someone he hadn't seen since the academy. It took him a few minutes to realize who it was exactly, but it came to him. That someone was Hinata. He had always thought of her as a weird and dark girl who just sat in the back and never talked to anyone. In fact, she was the exact opposite of most of the girls in the class. She was one of the very few, possibly the only, girls that didn't fawn over Sasuke. But there was something else. She was also the only one in the class that was never mean to him. Naruto hadn't seen anyone else, besides Sakura and Sasuke, since the graduation from the academy. Well, actually, he had seen Shikamaru and Choji once, but they were busy chasing after that damned cat. Hey, Hinata, shouted Naruto. He was just looking for someone else to talk to from his class besides Sasuke and Sakura. Hinata froze up, hearing the voice of her crush coming up from behind her. Naruto, she stuttered, looking frantically for something to hide behind. She found a nearby post and used it as cover although she peeked out from behind, glad that Naruto was talking to her. Hey, you still have your headband, exclaimed Naruto, noticing the forehead protector around her neck. Besides his own team and Team 10, Naruto didn't know who the other teams who passed the Genin exam from his class were. Kakashi had mentioned that there were 3 teams from his class, but he didn't know who the other team was until now. That means your team passed the Genin exam. Why yes WEDD did, Naruto. I'm glad TTOSCT that you did as W well, replied a stuttering Hinata. Wait, you're actually glad that I passed? Asked Naruto. He was sure half of the class had placed bets on him failing and the other half were preparing to beat him to death when he was the reason for Sasuke failing. I always knew why UW would, she said. You did? Asked Naruto, getting a slight smile on his face. Thanks. I'm glad you passed as well. Everyone in your family must be proud of you. Hinata was happy that Naruto had acknowledged her, but at the same time, she was wishing that he hadn't brought her family into this. She looked down, catching Naruto's attention with this. Hinata, what is it? Nothing. Just that my father H has always been strict and well. I'm afraid I'll disappoint him, said Hinata. Now, if there was one thing Naruto knew, it was disappointment. For most of his life, he had been just that, a disappointment. However, through experience he learned that you're only a disappointment if you just give up. If you keep trying your absolute hardest, there is no way you could disappoint someone. He proved this the night he finally graduated after saving Iruka-sensei with the Shadow Clone Jutsu. Don't worry, all you have to do is do your best. If you do that, you'll never disappoint. Datbeo. This picked Hinata's spirits up. If there was one thing she always admired about Naruto, it was his never-give-up attitude. It was around that time that another man came onto the scene. Hinata-sama, let's go. You shouldn't associate with that thing, said the man. He had the same eyes as her, indicating he was also a Hyuga. But Hinata tried to protest. No, Hinata-sama, he's not right. You can't believe anything he says, said the Hyuga as he took Hinata away. Naruto looked down. He was used to this, adults grabbing children and dragging them away from him. He knew why, thanks to Mizuki's big mouth and an explanation later from the Hokage, but he still didn't understand. He wasn't the Kyuubi, he just had the beast sealed inside him. But he told me to not give up. What's so bad about that? Asked Hinata. The Hyuga stopped in his tracks, turning around to see Naruto walking away, head down. Being a Hyuga, he could easily read people and in Naruto he saw a sense of sadness and loneliness. He hadn't seen this before, probably blinded by the whole Kyuubi thing. After what Hinata told him, he finally decided to take a good look at the boy. Perhaps he was wrong. This boy was trying to encourage Hinata, something she didn't normally receive at home. Perhaps he wasn't the demon the entire village saw him as. A group of men came walking past the two Hyugas, obviously coming from a bar. "Hey, it's that thing," one of them exclaimed quietly to the rest of his group so that Naruto wouldn't hear. The other men picked up various objects lying around in the street and alleys, including a broken bottle of sake, a wooden plank with a few rusty nails, and even a rather large wrench. The men snuck up behind Naruto, ready to beat him as the other villagers just simply watched. Most of the villagers were hoping that the men would give Naruto a good smack or two before some of the Anbu intervened. To them, it was one of the more entertaining things in the village, watching a few people take a shot as the one they labeled Demon Child. Naruto felt something coming up behind him. This was a familiar feeling to him and he learned how to detect it. If he didn't know how to detect it, he most likely wouldn't be alive. It was the feeling of someone wanting to hurt him. Naruto turned around just in time to see the group of men charge towards him. He did what he would normally do, he began to run. Naruto had gotten halfway down the street when he realized no one is following him. He turned around to see those men on the ground unconscious and the Hyuga man, holding Hinata's hand, standing over them. It was obvious that he had knocked them unconscious. Hinata was a little surprised that her caretaker had actually decided to help Naruto. For as long as she could remember, he did everything he could to keep her away from Naruto. Naruto approached the Hyuga with caution, not sure if this was some sort of trick. "Honestly, I don't really see why they hate you so much. You're nice to Lady Hinata, so you can't be that bad," the Hyuga said. Naruto was pretty sure he had just managed to make another friend. Thanks for the help back there, replied Naruto, not sure of the man's name. "I'm Ko Hyuga, pleased to make your acquaintance, Naruto," said Ko. Hinata hid behind her caretaker, blushing a little. She was also wondering if this meant that Ko would actually let her talk to Naruto from now on. "I'm sorry, but it is getting late and Hinata-sama's father is expecting her home. Perhaps we will see each other some other time." Ko's last remark encouraged Hinata that perhaps he wouldn't try to force her away from Naruto. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura showed up at the training grounds the following morning at 10:30. Kakashi had told them to meet up at 9 a.m., but they had already gotten into the routine that Kakashi was going to be at least 2 hours late. Sakura had started the day out as she normally did, trying to get Sasuke's attention and ask him out on some sort of date. After a while, Sakura gave up for the moment, but she would be back. Just after 11 a.m., Kakashi finally showed. "You're late," shouted Naruto and Sakura. "Good morning. Sorry I'm late, but there was this little old lady and..." Kakashi stopped as he saw Sakura getting angry with him. "Anyways, I'm here, so who's ready for some wonderful team-building exercises?" As soon as he mentioned it, all 3 members of Team 7 looked at Kakashi with killing intent. They had all just about had it with these exercises, even Sakura who saw them as a way to get to Sasuke. "We don't want none of your stinkin' team-building exercises. We've been doing those for what feels like forever," shouted Naruto. "I think it's about time that you finally teach us a cool ninja technique or something, right guys?" Naruto looked to Sasuke and Sakura for support and surprisingly, he got it. "The Dobi is right, Kakashi-sensei. Those team-building exercises of yours aren't getting us anywhere," said Sasuke. Kakashi was feeling slightly insulted that they were attacking his team-building exercises. Even Sakura had to agree with Naruto, and not just because Sasuke agreed. Kakashi sighed. He was wondering when this day would come. "All right, I suppose we've done enough of those exercises for now," said Kakashi in defeat. "I suppose it's time we work on your guys' chakra control." "Why do we have to do that? We spent the last 4 years learning how to control chakra," Naruto blurted out. "We get our first real training session. Now why can't you teach us a cool new jutsu or something?" "Naruto, chakra control is very important. Without the proper control, you would never be able to master anything above a D-rank jutsu," Sakura said after smacking him upside the head. "Sakura's right, Naruto," Kakashi said. "If you hope to be able to learn a cool jutsu, you must learn how to control the flow and release of chakra. The lessons you learned in the academy are basic, but they are not enough. Fine. It beats catching that damned cat anyways. I wonder what sort of demon that cat came from anyways, said Naruto. Somewhere in Kamigakaru, a young woman with blonde hair felt the urge to sneeze. As if scripted perfectly, said cat came running out of the trees with a genin team in pursuit. Unfortunately for Naruto, Tora remembered him from the last time Team 7 was assigned to capture her and proceeded to claw Naruto in the face before darting off into the woods. I swear that the village makes more off of that cat than all the other D and C ranks combined, said Kakashi quietly. Anyways, today we'll be working on the first of the regular chakra control exercises, the tree climbing exercise. Tree climbing? Sakura questions while Naruto and Sasuke looked on with a bit of curiosity. Yes, it's the first exercise in chakra control. The idea is to hold a constant chakra at the bottom of your feet and use it to stick to a surface, in particular the side of a tree, while you walk up it, Kakashi explained. He further instructed the genin in that exercise and they each proceeded to a tree. Naruto and Sasuke took a few steps up the tree before falling to the ground. Sakura had managed to climb the entire tree with little effort. Kakashi noted that her control was the best of the group. They were instructed to work on that exercise for the remainder of the day until they could climb the entire tree. After that, they were to exhaust their chakra as they continued to refine the technique. Out of the 3 rookie instructors, Kuranai had begun teaching her students much earlier than either Kakashi or Asuma. It was already clear to her that her team had no pressing issues with one another, except for Hinata wishing that Naruto was on her team, and they didn't require much effort getting the 3 of them to work together. As such, Kuranai had begun actual training with them only a week or 2 out of the academy. Asuma followed, but it took a bit longer to get the boys and Ino to work with one another as Ino would constantly belittle them, saying stuff regarding Sasuke doing much better than they would ever do. For Naruto and Sasuke, it was getting late. Sakura had already called it a night as she didn't have anywhere near the chakra reserved that Sasuke, let alone Naruto, had. However, she had accomplished the training after about 2 hours. Naruto and Sasuke were locked in a competition as to who would reach the top first. After the day ended, they were each about 2/3 up the tree. The following day was a mission day for them filled with more exciting D ranks. It was obvious that Naruto and Sasuke were getting irritated at having to do those. By the second day of their training, the 2 boys of Team 7 had managed to make it up to the top of the tree. Sasuke had been the first to reach the top, although he noted that Naruto was not far behind, making it to the top the next attempt. The 3 of them were instructed to refine the exercise for the remainder of the training days that week, until they had it down perfectly. They even used their free day to dedicate to the training. Alright, Team 7, for your next mission, you can either babysit an elder's grandson, shop in the neighboring village, or, the Hokage was cut off by someone entering the room and whispering something in the Hokage's ear. Well, it appears Tora has escaped again. Team 7 shuddered at the thought of having to catch that cat again. No, Naruto shouted out, I don't want another stinking D rank. I want a real mission. Surprisingly, Sakura and Sasuke both found themselves agreeing. I thought it was about time for this, Kakashi thought to himself. Idiot, you're just a rookie. Iruka shouted, his head growing to 5 times its original size as he used his big head no jutsu. Everyone starts off at the bottom and works their way up. But we keep getting the crappiest duties. Naruto responded. The Hokage sighed. We've been doing menial tasks for the past 2 months. It's about time we got something more fitting for a ninja. Naruto, it seems I have to explain to you what these duties are about, the third said. Every day, the village receives requests, from babysitting to assassinations. Each request is written down and given a rank of D, C, B, or A. These missions are handed out to ninja based on their experience. If the duty is completed, the village receives payment from the client. You just recently became genins, so D ranks are perfect for you. Obviously, Naruto was distracted, discussing his favorite ramen. It was then that the Hokage flipped out, and Kakashi knew he was going to get it later. But, if you must, the Hokage said. Team 7 diverted their attention to the old Hokage. I'll give you a C rank mission. Naruto was ecstatic, Sasuke and Sakura were pleasantly surprised, and Kakashi was in disbelief. You will be acting as bodyguards for a certain individual as they travel to the land of waves. Who is it? A feudal lord? A princess? Naruto shouted out. The door opened, and in walked a slightly drunken-looking man. Eh? You're giving me these brats? Hey you, short one with the stupid-looking face, are you really a ninja? The man asked. Haha. Who's the short one with the stupid-looking face? Naruto asked, soon realizing it was him as he was the shortest. Naruto tried to charge the man, only to be held back by Kakashi. I am the super expert bridge builder Tazuna. I expect protection until I get back to my country and complete my bridge, the old man said. With that, the team departed the village a few hours later. Chapter 3. Journey to the Land of Waves. The four ninja, plus Tazuna, set out of the Leaf Village for the Land of Waves, the location of their next mission. They had been walking for roughly a few hours now. During the beginning of their trip, Kakashi explained about the layout of the ninja world and that there were 5 major shinobi nations. Each of those nations had a corresponding kage that was the leader of the ninja in that nation. However, the Wave Country was a small nation that didn't have any ninja to protect it, although ninja don't normally bother it because of its size. He also explained that it was common for ninja of different countries to encounter one another and do battle as missions between countries tended to interfere with one another. Don't worry though, Kakashi reassured. This is a C rank mission, which means we won't encounter ninja from other nations. It was at that moment that Kakashi spotted an out-of-place puddle in the road ahead of them. As the group passed, 2 cloaked figures appeared from the puddle. They had claws surrounding their hands with a spiked chain connecting them. Before anyone knew what was happening, the cloaked ninja charged Kakashi, entangling him in their chain. As the 2 pulled on the chain, Kakashi was instantly ripped to shreds. The 3 genin stood there horrified. Kakashi-sensei, they shouted. 1 down, the enemy ninja said. 2 down. They suddenly appeared behind Naruto. They struck at him with their claws. Naruto was too petrified with fear to move. However, Naruto was spared when Sasuke flung a shuriken and kunai at the ninja's chain, pinning it firmly into a tree. Sasuke proceeded to deliver a few kicks to the face of the enemy. When they got the chance, the ninja detached their chain, bolting around Naruto and Sasuke. Their target was Tazuna. Sakura jumped in front of the bridge builder, ready to defend them from the enemy's attack. Before they could strike, Kakashi appeared and knocked the pair to the ground, unconscious but not dead. Everyone realized then that Kakashi had used a substitution when he was attacked. Naruto. Sorry I didn't save you immediately. I didn't think you would freeze like that, Kakashi said to his student. Damn it, I couldn't do anything. But Sasuke, it was his first real battle, yet it didn't faze him at all. He saved me, Naruto thought to himself. Hey you, Sasuke said to Naruto. You alright, scaredy cat? Naruto was getting really pissed at Sasuke's smugness until he realized a wound on his hand. Naruto, save it for later, Kakashi said, picking up on the wound as well. Their claws are poisoned. We must open the wound and remove it, or you will die. Kakashi turned his attention to their client. Tazuna, I need to talk to you. These are Kirigakaru Chunin. The 2 ninja finally woke to find themselves tied to a tree. How did you read our movements like that? One asked. On a sunny day like this, when it hasn't rained, there is not going to be a puddle, Kakashi explained. If I wanted to, I could have killed you, but I needed to know who you were after. Ninja attacking ninja is something we have to deal with, but their target wasn't one of us, right Tazuna? Everyone turned to the bridge builder. We haven't heard that there were any ninja after you. We were only hired to protect you from thieves or gangs. This was supposed to be a C rank mission, but it has now become a B rank, if not an A rank. I'm sure you have your reasons, but the mission becomes more complicated when information is left out. Sorry, but we aren't ready for this mission. We need to head back and get Naruto some medicine for that wound, Sakura said, a little relieved. Unfortunately for her, Naruto had to open his mouth. Suddenly, blood splattered to the ground. Naruto had pierced his own hand with a kunai. Everyone looked on in shock. Naruto, what are you doing? Sakura screamed. Damn it. Why am I always so far behind? Naruto asked. I've completed many missions and even practiced just you on my own every day. I should become stronger. I won't lose to you anymore, Sasuke. With this kunai, I will protect the old man and continue this mission. Naruto. Kakashi said, smiling. It's good that you're releasing the poison, but any more and you'll die from blood loss. Kakashi helped Naruto to close the wound, but saw that it was already healing itself at an accelerated rate. He knew why. The Kyuubi. Kakashi just wrapped the hand and told Naruto that he will be alright. The Konoha ninja agreed to continue the mission, but told Tazuna that this mission was becoming at least a B rank and that he would have to pay the village when the funds become available. You failed. A rather short man shouted in a castle far away. You were supposed to be very strong, former ninja. Getting pissed off at the little man's yelling, one of the ninjas swung his sword, stopping just before it cut into the man's neck. Stop bitching. This time I'll go and kill them myself, the masked ninja said. Hey, are you sure? It seems as if the enemy has hired some skilled ninja, the short man said. And with the failure of the demon brothers, they are aware of us now. Who do you think I am? The masked ninja said, irritant. There's a reason I'm called the demon of the hidden mist, Zabuza Momochi. A few more days of traveling passed and the group of 5 came to the edge of the sea where a farrier was waiting to take them from the land of fire to the land of waves. The boat was small and it was barely able to hold the 6 of them, not to mention it almost tipped a few times because of Naruto. Soon, Tazuna's fabled bridge came into view and Naruto had to admit that it was impressive as he stood up to observe, nearly tipping the boat again. Wow, it's huge, Naruto shouted out. Suddenly, he was silenced by Tazuna and the farrier. Why do you think we are hiding in the mist and the motor isn't running? We don't want Gato to find us. The farrier said. Who's Gato? Sakura asked. He's a wealthy shipping merchant known across the great nations. He came to our country, promising a boom to our economy. However, after a little, it was clear that he was only taking over our economy for his own gain. He quickly took control of our shipping companies, the major source of income for us. Over time, he took over our economy using his secret drug trade and some of the ninja he employs. Through force, he now has a monopoly on all shipping traffic into and out of our country, Tazuna explained. The only thing he has to fear is the completion of that bridge. So that is why those ninja were after you, Sasuke realized. But why did you hide the fact that ninja were after you? Because of Gato, the wave country is poor. Even the feudal lord has no money. We can't afford an expensive B-rank mission right now, Tazuna explained. The group got off the boat, but Kakashi had an uneasy feeling. He knew that if they attacked again, it would be by Jonin-level ninja this time. Suddenly, Naruto heard something off in the bushes and tossed a few shuriken, just barely missing a poor rabbit. However, Kakashi was even more suspicious. The rabbit was a white snow rabbit, yet it was late spring. Suddenly, Kakashi knocked his team to the ground as a large sword came flying towards them. When Kakashi looked up, he saw a man standing on the hilt of the blade, Zabuza Momochi. Everyone stay back. This guy's on a whole different level, Kakashi said. He lifted his headband to reveal a red eye with 3 black marks, a Sharingan. Hey, so you would be Sharingan Kakashi, Zabuza said. This shocked Sasuke that Kakashi had a Sharingan, the dojutsu of his clan. I already get to see the famed Sharingan, I'm almost honored. What's the Sharingan? Naruto asked. It's one of the 3 great dojutsu, also known as the copy wheel, Sasuke explained, as it was part of his clan. It's said that the Sharingan gives the user the ability to defeat all types of taijutsu, ninjutsu, and genjutsu. But that's not all. Hee, that's right, Zabuza said. What's even scarier is that you can copy your opponent's techniques once you see them. Kakashi, when I was a Jonin for the Hidden Mist, there was a page in my bingo book about you. It said that you had copied over 1,000 jutsus. What's going on? The Sharingan only appears in a select few members of the Uchiha clan? Sasuke thought to himself. Zabuza jumped off the tree and landed on water, just a few meters away. Kakashi attacked the ninja, who just turned to water, revealing it to be a water clone. Before Kakashi knew what was happening, Zabuza appeared behind him. Sweeten. Water prison jutsu. Zabuza called out as Kakashi became trapped in a ball of water. Zabuza then made another water clone to deal with the kids while he held Kakashi prisoner. HMPH. Wearing headbands and acting like ninja, the water clone said. But you know what? A real ninja is someone who has survived numerous brushes with death. Basically, once you're good enough to be listed in my bingo book, then you can call yourself a ninja. The clone disappeared, only to reappear and kick Naruto, sending him flying and knocking his headband off. Take Tazuna and run. You're no match for him. His clone can't move far away, and he's stuck here keeping me prisoner, Kakashi yelled out. As the clone began to move towards Naruto, he thought he was really going to die there. He froze again, but suddenly realized the oath that he had sworn a little while ago. Naruto charged at Zabuza, only to be sent back to where Sasuke and Sakura were standing. However, he got what he wanted. Naruto was able to reclaim his forehead protector from Zabuza's clone. Put this in your handbook, you browless freak. I'm the one who will become Hokage one day. Naruto Uzumaki, Naruto exclaimed. Sasuke, lend me your ear. Sasuke didn't like the idea of working with Naruto, but realized that he had no choice. Hee. The clone laughed. When I was your age, I had already slaughtered my entire class. That is how I got the name, the Demon of the Hidden Mist. The Hidden Mist graduation exam? Kakashi asked, still trapped in water. Ah, so you've heard of it, Zabuza said. Wait, what exam? Sakura asked. Hee. Fights to the death between students, Zabuza said, letting some killer intent loose. Children raised together as friends were pitted together until one lost their life. 10 years ago, the Hidden Mist changed their graduation exam as a result of one child who killed his entire class, without pause or hesitation, Kakashi said. Zabuza. It was at that moment that Sasuke attacked the clone, only to be forced to the ground. He was starting to cough up blood. Shadow Clone Jutsu, Naruto said, making about 30 clones of himself. They jumped at Zabuza with their kunai, only to be dispelled by one swing of his sword. As Naruto slid past Sasuke, he handed his teammate a Fuma shuriken. Sasuke threw the shuriken at the real Zabuza, not the clone. However, he caught it. What, another shuriken in the shadow of the first? Zabuza said as another shuriken sailed towards him. He couldn't catch this one. However, he jumped to dodge the second shuriken. Sasuke's attack had missed. Or did it? The second shuriken disappeared in a puff of smoke, revealing that Naruto had been transformed into the shuriken. Before landing in the water, Naruto threw a kunai at the mist Jonin. It was aimed for the back of his neck and he wasn't going to be able to dodge this one. Zabuza did the only thing he could. He jumped back, releasing Kakashi from his prison. Great plan, you two, he said to Naruto and Sasuke. Hey, I just got distracted and released the jutsu, Zabuza said, trying not to admit he had been bested by a couple of brats. No, they forced you to move, Kakashi stated. It was now Zabuza versus Kakashi. The two ninja jumped away from each other. Zabuza flipped through a series of hand seals as Kakashi copied the seals exactly at the same time. Sushin. Water Dragon Jutsu, the both said at the same time. Two water dragons rose up out of the water and began to do battle with one another. In the end, it was a draw. Zabuza was shocked that Kakashi was following him so close and so exact. My movements, is he? Zabuza was interrupted. Reading them? Kakashi finished. Kakashi flipped through a few more seal, shocking Zabuza. Sweden. Water Vortex. Kakashi called out as a blast of water sent Zabuza crashing back into a tree. How? Zabuza said, weakly. Can you see the future? Yeah, Kakashi responded. You're going to die. Just as he said that, two Senbon came sailing out of nowhere and nailed Zabuza in the neck, killing him. Out of surprise, Kakashi looked up to see a mist ninja wearing an Anbu mask. To everyone's surprise, the ninja was a kid, no older than Naruto. Thank you very much. I have been searching for the opportunity to kill this criminal, the mysterious ninja said. That mask, you must be a Kiri hunter ninja, Kakashi stated. The ninja agreed. What the hell? Who are you? Naruto said as the hunter ninja caught his attention. Back down, Naruto, Kakashi ordered. He's not our enemy. It's not that. He killed Zabuza, our enemy, that easily. Who the hell is he? Naruto blurted. Naruto, in this world there are kids younger than you, but stronger than me. Just accept that fact, Kakashi stated. With that, the hunter ninja took Zabuza's body and disappeared. For Kakashi, something still wasn't right and it wasn't his lack of energy as he collapsed to the ground. The three genin and Tazuna then proceeded to carry their lazy sensei's body towards Tazuna's house. Back near the site of the battle, The mist ninja was preparing to do something with Zabuza's body. He pulled out a pair of scissors to cut the bandages off Zabuza. "That's all right, I'll do it myself," Zabuza said, waking up from his death. "Damn, you sure are rough." Zabuza pulled the senbon out of his neck. "You shouldn't be rough yourself, or else you will die from pulling them out," the masked ninja said. "How long are you going to wear that mask, Haku?" Zabuza asked. "It reminds me of the old days. Plus it is useful in situations like this," Haku said, removing his mask. His face was rather young and looked rather feminine, although he was a boy. "You shouldn't move for about a week, while you heal. HMPH, you are so pure and clever." "That's what I like about you," Zabuza said. "That's because I'm just a kid." Haku smiled. Kakashi woke up, feeling something was wrong and scaring Naruto and Sakura so much that they nearly choked on the food they were eating. "What's wrong, Kakashi-sensei?" Naruto asked. "Hunter ninjas usually dispose of the body on sight. How did the hunter ninja dispose of Zabuza?" Kakashi asked. "I don't know, he just took the body and disappeared," Sakura said, her words not reassuring Kakashi. Sasuke also realized what Kakashi was thinking. There was no way simple needles could kill Zabuza like that. He was still alive. "What the hell do you mean?" Naruto shouted out. "You even said he was dead." "I did, but that was most likely a momentary death," Kakashi explained. He knew about the body's structure thoroughly, and he used a weapon with a low chance to kill. He was there to save Zabuza, not kill him. "There is no assurance that Zabuza is alive or dead, but I say we have a week's time before Gato rallies another stronger opponent or Zabuza returns. You guys will need training. Over the next week, we will try to make you strong before Gato returns." "What's a little training going to do?" Sakura said, taking Naruto's place as the loudmouth on the team. "Sakura, who saved me back there?" Kakashi said. "You guys are growing rapidly, especially you Naruto. So we will train until then." "Sounds like fun," Naruto shouted, reclaiming his title as Team Loudmouth from Sakura. "That's no fun," a little boy said, appearing in the room. "Oh, Inari, you're here," Tazuna said. "This is Inari, my grandson. Inari, say hello to everyone. They are ninja who protected me." The boy turned to his mom and grandpa. "Mom, they are going to die," the little boy said. "There is no way that they can win against Gato." "What the hell are you talking about, you little brat?" Naruto said, only to be held back by Sakura. "Listen, kid. One day I'm going to become an incredible ninja and Hokage. I don't know who this Gato guy is, but I'm not going to lose against him." "What are you, stupid?" Inari responded, sending Naruto into an even greater rage. "If you don't want to die, leave." With that, Inari left. Tazuna apologized for his grandson's behavior and explained to everyone how his father was killed by some of Gato's thugs. Naruto had followed the boy, who was in his room crying, but he decided to leave the kid alone. Chapter 4. 1 week. Kakashi had brought his team out to the edge of a lake. Kakashi knew it was true. Zabuza was alive, and he would most likely be back. With the false death that the Hunter Enin had put Zabuza in, Kakashi figured he had about a week to get his team ready for the inevitable rematch with Zabuza and whatever else he brought with him. "Kakashi-sensei, so what are we doing?" asked Sakura. "Easy, we are making you stronger," replied Kakashi. "I have the next chakra control exercise for the three of you, water walking." "What, water walking?" asked Sakura and Naruto in unison. Was that even possible? Apparently it was. Kakashi demonstrated by gathering chakra in his feet and hobbling with his crutches out onto the water, remaining afloat on top of the surface. Naruto and Sakura looked on in amazement, with Sasuke looking on with an indifferent expression. "You are to expel chakra from the base of your feet at a constant rate, keeping you afloat on the surface," explained Kakashi. "You saw how I did it, now I want the three of you to try," he instructed. Naruto was the first to try, gathering chakra into his feet and taking a step out onto the water, only to fall straight in, soaking himself. Sakura was next. Much to Kakashi's surprise, she had managed to stay afloat, even though she was bobbing like crazy, trying to get herself to stabilize. After a few minutes, she finally had the flow of chakra down and was standing on the surface just like Kakashi was. "Wow, Sakura, it's great that you can already do that," shouted Naruto. Sakura turned around, giving a slight smile while scratching the side of her face. She had hoped to get a positive response from Sasuke, not Naruto. Sasuke was last, confident that he would get it. He took a step onto the water. Like Naruto, he fell through the surface. Kakashi instructed the three of them to work on the exercise. Since Naruto and Sasuke hadn't gotten it done yet, they had to get the technique down first. Sakura, on the other hand, had already managed to stand on the water after the first attempt. Kakashi attributed her success to her superior chakra control over the two boys. For the next 2 days, Kakashi had all three of them working on the exercise. He had Sakura refining the technique by doing various physical exercises such as running, jumping, and skating on the surface of the water. Sasuke and Naruto were still struggling to get the water walking exercise, and much to Sakura's delight, had resorted to taking off all but their shorts so their clothes wouldn't become any more soaked than they already were. It wasn't so much Naruto she cared for, but a shirtless Sasuke was too much to pass up. This was the one time in the exercise where she completely lost her focus and ended up falling through the surface into the water. At the end of the second day, Naruto and Sasuke were getting close. They were each able to hold the chakra flow for a few seconds before falling through. Like the tree climbing exercise, they had inadvertently turned this into some sort of competition, not wanting the other one to best them. Late at night, Sasuke managed to get the exercise down first, but Naruto was only an attempt or two behind, showing Sasuke that the dobi really wasn't that far behind after all. Back at Tazuna's house, Naruto and Sasuke showed up, finally. Kakashi was glad that the two had finally got the basics down. He gave the two boys one more day to refine their technique while he and Sakura would join Tazuna on the bridge for guard duty. The following day, Naruto and Sasuke were back at the lake, working on the same thing that Sakura was doing the other day. Both boys were getting impatient by this as there was really no way for them to siempete against one another. And then Sasuke made a suggestion. "Naruto, fight me," he said. It was true, he wanted to fight Naruto. Even though he always wiped the floor with Naruto back in the academy, he had taken notice of the blonde's rapid progress. Now he wanted to fight the blonde. "What?" asked a slightly surprised Naruto. "You heard me, Dobi. Fight me, right here. The first one to either give up or fall through the surface loses." "Or are you afraid, scaredy cat?" taunted Sasuke. That last phrase did it as Naruto accepted the challenge. "That's it, I'm finally going to kick your ass and show to you what a good ninja I actually am." Naruto ran at Sasuke, only to receive a foot in the gut, sending him sliding back across the water and through the surface. Round 1 went to Sasuke. "Come on, is that all you've got?" said Sasuke. Naruto picked himself out of the water and caught his breath. "Hey, you wish," said Naruto. "Shadow clone jutsu," he said as 6 clones poofed into existence and attacked Sasuke. All 6 clones in the real Naruto charged Sasuke, and he found himself actually finding a certain difficulty fending off 6 attackers at once. Perhaps there was something more to the dobi after all. Sasuke won the second match as well, followed by the third and fourth. In Naruto's defense, he lost control of his chakra for a moment on the 4th try, falling through the water not because of Sasuke, but because of his own chakra control. But each time, the victory came with an increased challenge. Finally, it was getting late at night and the two boys had been going at each other for some time now. Both of them were getting tired and they could feel it. The both barely had enough energy to keep themselves afloat. Perhaps you're not so much of a dobi after all." "Let's go back," said Sasuke. That had been just what he wanted, some actual training that made him stronger, not just some meaningless running and jumping around on the surface of the water. Naruto stared at the Uchiha wide-eyed. Did Sasuke actually compliment him for once? Naruto grinned at the Uchiha. "What's the matter? Giving up already?" he huffed. "Dobi, you can barely keep yourself afloat. The last thing I need is to drag your unconscious and drowned body back to Kakashi," said Sasuke, panting as hard as Naruto. Both boys had to admit it. That last match was good enough to bring them to this point. To emphasize on that fact, they had to rely on each other to drag the other home. They finally made it home, only to collapse through the door. "Sasuke!" shouted Sakura, rushing to Sasuke's side. "What happened? You guys are all dirty and bruised?" "Hey, both of us, training," said Naruto. Kakashi smiled. "Looks like the two of you have been sparring," he said. Sasuke grinned, kind of, and nodded. Good. That helps you train not only chakra control effectively, but also taijutsu. Starting tomorrow, you'll be joining us on the bridge, said Kakashi as the two dragged themselves over to the table and began eating just about anything in sight. Kakashi, Sakura, and Sasuke were at the bridge the next day. Naruto had managed to sleep in. In reality, they most likely forgot about him. At the bridge, there was a problem with the workers leaving their jobs. Apparently the thought of Gato was enough to scare off most of the workers. Having ninja around really didn't help. At noon, Tazuna decided to end work for the day. The four of them went into town, only to see the depressing state that Gato was driving the country into. There was little food in the store and most of the population had resorted to thievery. Suddenly, Sakura felt something tough her on the behind. Pervert, she screamed, knocking a man hard in the face who was trying to pickpocket her. Shortly after, she felt someone tug on her again. Ready to punch another thief, she soon realized that it was just a child begging for food. As a result, she gave in and gave the kid a handful of candy. This is why we need the bridge, a symbol of courage. We need these people to let their fears go and once again stand up for themselves. If that bridge can be completed, the city will return to the old times when it was prosperous and happy, Tazuna explained. The four of them left early for construction on the bridge. Once again, no one woke Naruto. As Naruto got up and realized that he was late, he headed off into the forest to use as a shortcut to get to the bridge. There, he encountered a beautiful young lady. Who are you? Naruto asked, trying to figure out what the lady wanted. Oh, is this the plant you were looking for? Yes, thank you, the woman said. Oh, that forehead protector. Does that mean you are a ninja? Yeah, you notice? I'm a ninja, Naruto said. And one day, I'm going to become Hokage, the strongest ninja in my village. The girl laughed. Do you have someone important to you? She asked. When a person has someone precious to them, they will truly become strong. Yeah, I understand that, Naruto said. I'm going to become strong so that I can protect my friends. The lady go up. You'll become strong, I know it. I hope we'll meet again sometime. I want to see how strong you've become, she said as she walked away. Oh, and by the way, I'm a boy. Naruto's world was shattered. That boy was almost prettier than Sakura, he thought. Arriving at the bridge, Naruto realized that more workers had left, afraid that Gato would kill them if they continued. However, with Naruto there, Tazuna got an idea. Hey kid, those clones of yours? He asked as Naruto looked at him curiously. Can they do anything else besides get hit with a sword? Naruto was now getting a little mad, but Kakashi picked up on Tazuna's thoughts. What he really means, Naruto, is make a bunch of your shadow clones and help with construction on the bridge. That way, this bridge will get completed sooner, and you will really be helping the village here, Kakashi said. Naruto actually agreed. To everyone's amazement, the work on the bridge had shown a lot of progress after that day. The bridge was now only a few days from completion. It was now 1 week since Team 7's encounter with Zabuza. For Kakashi, this meant that they would be seeing Zabuza or another opponent here shortly. As such, Team 7 was on high alert, except for a particular blonde ninja. Yes, Naruto had managed to sleep in once again. However, it was a good thing that he did. Suddenly, a knock came on the door, followed by a crash. Are you Tazuna's daughter? One of the men standing at the hole of a door said. He had long gray hair with a black cap. At his side was a rather large katana. Sorry, but I'm afraid you're coming with us. Tsunami knew she was in trouble. Out of reaction, she grabbed Inari, who was right next to her, and began to run. Before they knew it, the two thugs had her cornered. As for Inari, they only needed one hostage and one of the thugs was dying to cut something up. Should I kill him? The other thug said. This one was larger and more muscular than the first thug. He had a patch over one of his eyes and was also carrying a katana like his partner. Out of desperation, Tsunami did the best she could. You want a hostage, right? She said. If you even touch him, I will kill myself. The bandits were depressed by this. They had really been hoping to kill someone, but they needed a hostage and 2 dead bodies would do them no good. Inari had managed to escape, but the 2 thugs had taken his mother. Sitting in a corner, Inari began to cry and think on what Kakashi had said to him the other day regarding Naruto. Flashback. You little sissy. Naruto said to him. At that moment, he got up and left the house. Kakashi followed him, hoping to calm the crying boy down. Inari, about Naruto. He didn't mean what he said, but you have to understand that, like you, he didn't grow up with his father around either. In fact, Naruto has never known either of his parents, Kakashi said, trying to calm the crying boy down. He has had a rougher childhood than you can imagine, but he always manages to see the best out of life. Perhaps, he's just tired of crying. He knows what it means to truly be strong, just like your dad. End flashback. After a few moments of reflection, Inari realized that he had to let the cry-baby in him go and grow up. He mustered his courage and pursued the bandits. Will I also become strong like Dad? He thought to himself. Upon reaching the bandits, he shouted out, getting their attention. The bandits turned around to face him and his mother called out for him to run. Get away from my mom, he screamed as he charged the bandits. The bandits drew their swords and proceeded to slash at the boy. Their attacks hit, cutting him to pieces, much to the horror of his mother. Inari, she screamed out. But, before she could say any more, Inari disappeared in a cloud of smoke, leaving cut pieces of wood. Sorry for being late, I've been doing that a lot this past week, Naruto said, holding Inari, who was unscathed. But a hero usually shows up at the last seconds anyways. Great job, Inari, now let me take it from here. The bandits charged at Naruto, who was all alone, or was he? Suddenly, two figures appeared from behind and gave the thugs a good kick to the head. Before they became unconscious, the bandits turned to see two more Narutos coming at them with their feet only inches from their heads. Naruto then turned to Inari. Sorry for calling you a sissy yesterday. You're actually pretty strong. Inari began to tear up. Damn it, I promised myself I wasn't going to cry anymore. Now you're going to make fun of me, Inari said. Inari, it's all right to cry when you're happy, Naruto explained. With that, he headed off towards the bridge, knowing that something was wrong. Kakashi, Sasuke, Sakura, and Tazuna arrived at the bridge to find most of the workers either injured or dead. Before they could realize what was going on, the mist began to thicken as Kakashi realized that Zabuza had returned. Hee, I see your brats are still shaking, Zabuza called out through the mist. Suddenly, they were surrounded by about a half-dozen Zabuzas. HMPH, I'm shaking from excitement, Sasuke responded as Kakashi signaled for him to go. With that, Sasuke defeated the clones with only a few movements of his knives, much to Sakura and Tazuna's surprise. The group looked up to see two ninja standing before them, Zabuza and that hunter ninja from the other day. The brat has grown. Perhaps I have found myself a rival, eh Haku? The demon of the mist asked. Haku nodded and Kakashi knew that his hunch had been correct. That masked man, he's obviously a comrade of Zabuza, Kakashi said, but was interrupted. I'll fight him, Sasuke said. Tricking us with that stupid act, I hate bastards like that. Sasuke, you're so cool, Sakura shrieked out as Kakashi's sweat dropped. Sasuke engaged the masked figure, who brought some water around him to defend himself from Sasuke's attacks with. Sakura, guard Tazuna and stay by my side. We'll leave the masked ninja to Sasuke, Kakashi ordered as Sakura complied. Chapter 5. Awakenings. Sasuke had begun his battle with the masked ninja as the two assaulted each other with a hail of senbon and shuriken. None of the shuriken or senbon hit their target as they had all collided with one another in midair, canceling the attacks. As the air began to grow moist, so did the ground. Puddles began to form around the two combatants. The masked ninja halted his attack and began to speak. I don't want to kill you, but you won't stand down, will you? The masked ninja said to Sasuke, who responded with his usual response. I see, but you won't be able to keep up with my speed the next time. The ninja began flipping through a series of hand seals and Sasuke rushed towards him, hoping to stop him before he completed some sort of jutsu. Unfortunately, he realized the trap the moment he grabbed onto the arm of the ninja. Now that I have one of your arms preoccupied, you won't be able to counter this. Sweden. Flying water needles. With that, the water around them began to rise, forming sharp needles of water. Sasuke channeled some chakra to his legs and jumped up before the needles could impact him. He then retaliated by throwing some shuriken at the masked ninja, who had just barely dodged them. Sasuke then appeared behind the ninja and sent him flying back with a kick to the stomach, much to Zabuza's surprise. Kakashi turned to Zabuza. I can't have you underestimating my students by calling them brats, Kakashi explained. Sasuke is the #1 rookie in the village. Sakura is the brightest, and Naruto as well. Naruto, the #1 hyperactive knuckleheaded ninja in the village. HMPH, just because your brat scored one lucky hit, doesn't mean he can take Haku, said Zabuza to Kakashi. He's just getting started and it looks like it's all over for your brat now. Sasuke felt a sudden chill surround him. Hayatan. Demonic ice mirrors. Haku called out. Sasuke was shocked that he was now surrounded by a dome of ice mirrors, with Haku's reflection in each one. He tried to figure out what that jutsu was, but he did not remember the Hayatan being one of the common elemental affinities. So he has a blood limit. This will get interesting, thought Sasuke. However, in reality, he was extremely tense, not sure what to expect at all. Now I'll show you my real speed, Haku said. Suddenly, Sasuke was hit with a barrage of needles, none of which severely injured him, this time around. Seeing Sasuke's troubles, Sakura ran to aid him, temporarily abandoning her charge. She threw a kunai at Haku, who came out of the mirror only to catch it. Suddenly, he was knocked onto the ground outside the mirrors. Naruto Uzumaki has arrived, Naruto shouted. That idiot show-off, Sasuke thought as he picked himself off the ground. He was covered in scratches and cuts from the needles, but nothing was fatal yet. Now that I'm here, the hero usually shows up like this and kicks the enemy's ass instantly. Naruto exclaimed. That idiot, Kakashi said. Zabuza got a little laugh at Kakashi's facial expression. What kind of ninja does he think he is, barging in like that? Naruto threw a few shuriken at the distracted Zabuza, only to have them knocked away by Haku's needles. So you don't want me attacking them? You're soft as always, Haku, Zabuza said to his comrade. Sasuke realized the situation he was in. Apparently, Haku had been holding back. None of those hits were vital, only mere scratches so far. However, after the way he killed Zabuza back by the lake, Sasuke realized that this ninja had deadly accuracy with Senbon and he had been holding back. Now that Naruto had arrived though, perhaps Sasuke could get out of this. With the Dobi working on the outside and himself on the inside, perhaps they could take down Haku. Sadly, he would have to swallow his pride for this and allow Naruto to help him, assuming Naruto hadn't done what he just did. Sasuke, I came in here to save you, Naruto said, now inside the ice dome. Sasuke was about ready to beat the knucklehead senseless as Haku resumed his assault. Thinking of the ice, Sasuke made a few hand seals. Katen. Great Fireball Jutsu. With that, Sasuke launched a fireball at the mirror that Haku was in. Unfortunately, the ice mirror did not sustain any damage. Afterwards, Naruto and Sasuke were pelted with a barrage of needle. Naruto made a bunch of clones to attack the mirrors, hoping one of them would be able to get Haku. However, Haku was too fast and the clones were easily defeated. As Naruto and Sasuke were facing Haku, Kakashi stared down his opponent. For a kid to master a jutsu like that, it must be an advanced bloodline, he said. Bloodline? Sakura questioned. It's a deep lineage, a jutsu or style of jutsu passed down by your family. Even I cannot copy it, Kakashi explained. With that, Kakashi revealed his Sharingan, ready to fight Zabuza and end the battle quick. The Sharingan, only one trick, Kakashi? You should know better than to show your moves to an opponent more than once. Zabuza said. The two Jonin engaged one another, both piercing the other's hands with kunai. You should be honored. You're the first opponent to see my Sharingan twice. Kakashi called out as the two disengaged. I've been waiting to say this line. You can't use the same jutsu on me twice. Zabuza called out as he made a hand seal. Suddenly, the area around them was covered in a thick mist and Zabuza disappeared. Back in the ice dome, damn it. I can't fail here. I have a dream I need to fulfill, Naruto said out loud. Haku then experienced a flashback upon hearing Naruto's words. Flashback. Dream? He remembered himself as a lonely child. His home in the land of water had just been destroyed after the Mizukage's persecution of people with bloodlines. Soon he saw Zabuza standing before him. An unfortunate child, Zabuza said. A brat like you is wanted by no one. You will die with neither freedom nor dreams. Hee, you have the same eyes as me, Haku said to Zabuza, striking some sort of emotion in the demon. End flashback. Dream. Becoming a true shinobi is difficult for me. If possible, I do not want to kill you, nor have you kill me. But if you come at me, I can destroy my kind heart and come at you as a true shinobi, Haku said to Naruto and Sasuke. This bridge is the place we fight to connect our dreams. Please don't hate me. I want to protect someone precious to me, fight for them, and make that person's dreams come true. That is my dream. For that, I can become a shinobi and kill you if I must. Zabuza laughed at what Haku was saying. He knew that Naruto and Sasuke had not killed anyone yet and that they did not know what it was like to truly become a shinobi. Kakashi heard this, but couldn't see anything. The mist was too thick, even for his Sharingan. But he figured that Zabuza couldn't see either. Suddenly, about a dozen shuriken came flying at his and Kakashi just barely managed to block them. Impressive that you were able to block them, Sharingan Kakashi, Zabuza said, appearing behind him. Kakashi turned around to see that Zabuza's eyes were closed. He disappeared back into the mist. Kakashi, you have overestimated the use of your Sharingan. You acted as if you could read my mind and see the future, but that Sharingan is merely a trick. Basically, it involves hypnotism and attention to detail. By using those two abilities together, you can make it seem like you are seeing into the future. The answer to combating it is simple. First, I use the mist to make that keen eye of yours useless. Second, I keep my eyes closed to prevent you from influencing me. However, I am an expert in silent killing. I can kill you just by hearing you. Kakashi was worried by this realization. Zabuza moved to Tazuna and attacked, hoping to take out the bridge builder and Sakura. As Zabuza swung the blade, it was stopped by the steel plate on Kakashi's gloves. Zabuza growled and kicked Kakashi in the gut before swinging his blade again. Kakashi had just enough time to throw himself backwards to dodge most of the attack. However, the blade still sliced across his chest, creating a rather large gash. He slipped back into the mist again, ready to strike another blow. Now, Kakashi had once been in charge of the Anbu and the Sharingan wasn't his only trick. He made a few hand seals. Summoning jutsu, Kakashi said, summoning 8 ninja dogs to his side. He ordered them to find and immobilize Zabuza, which they did without trouble, using the scent of Kakashi's blood on Zabuza's blade to track him. Naruto woke, just in time to see Sasuke take the attack that was intended for him. The needles hit Sasuke in the chest and what appeared to be the liver. Naruto saw Sasuke fall to his knees, just as a single needle that Sasuke had failed to take hit Naruto in the neck, in roughly the same spot where Zabuza was hit when he was killed a week ago. Naruto slipped into darkness. Naruto awoke again, this time finding himself in a damp sewer, unsure of exactly where he was. He heard growling coming from one direction and his curiosity got the best of him. He turned to find the source of the noise. Soon, he found himself standing in for a large gate. It's about time the two of us met, a strange voice said from behind the bars. Who's there? Asked a startled Naruto. The voice sounded demonic and it sent Naruto falling back onto his ass. Why don't you take a close look, child, and see, said the voice. A faint light filled the room and Naruto could see what was behind the bars. Why your T the KK Kyuubi no K Kitsune? Stuttered Naruto in fear. Yes, and since you're here, that must mean you're in some sort of trouble, the Kyuubi said to Naruto. What do you mean? Naruto said, still trembling in fear. Are you going to kill me? No, even if I wanted to, the seal on you that keeps me imprisoned in you would prevent me from doing such. If I remember, you were in a battle with a masked man. The fox did his best to conjure an image of what was happening. The thing that shocked Naruto was the image of Sasuke taking the hits for him, saving him, but getting injured in the process. Naruto saw that Sasuke was falling to the ground and feared that Haku had actually managed to kill Sasuke. I can sense that your friend is still alive, but he may not be for long if you just sit there and do nothing like a blundering idiot. I will give you a little bit of my power for now, but there is something I want to discuss with you later. Now go. With that last bark of the Kyuubi, Naruto was forced out of his mindscape. Finding himself in the real world, facing Haku and a dying Sasuke, Naruto instantly felt a surge of power course through his chakra system. The needles that were stuck in him were forced out and any wounds instantly began to heal. Haku looked on in shock as a red aura began to surround Naruto. Naruto caught Sasuke as he was falling to the ground. Afraid that his teammate was dead, Naruto went into a rage, launching himself towards Haku's image in the mirror. With a strike of his fist, Naruto punched Haku in the mirror and sent him flying backwards. The mirror he was in shattered and the dome collapsed with it. Haku managed to barely regain himself, remaining on his feet, but no longer inside any mirror to protect him from the next assault. Unfortunately for him, this next assault, he would not be able to dodge. His mask was cracked and his head was ringing, most likely suffering from some sort of concussion. Naruto's next attack came swift, a strong punch to the chest that sent Haku skidding to the ground. As Naruto moved over to Haku, ready to deliver the finishing blow. As Naruto lashed out at Haku with his fist, the mask crumbled off, revealing the same boy he had met in the forest only a few days ago. Naruto's attack immediately stopped there. He grabbed Haku by the collar of his robe. "Why?" demanded Naruto. "Why did you kill him? Why are you doing Goto's dirty work?" "Why?" "Because, I am simply a tool, to be used by someone else, to accomplish their goal," said Haku, breathing deeply. Naruto was disgusted at the words that came out of Haku's mouth, yet he couldn't bring himself to blame Haku for turning out like that. Naruto could see some familiarity in Haku's eyes. He could see loneliness in those eyes. He determined there that Haku must have lived alone until someone came to him with an offer. Hell, Naruto had almost fallen to the tricks that had manipulated Haku when Mizuki asked him to steal the Forbidden Scroll. "Don't talk about that crap anymore. You don't have to do anything you don't want to. You're a person, not a tool, don't give me that crap," shouted Naruto, flaring a little bit more of the demonic chakra already in his system. "Perhaps, but it seems like my usefulness is over," said Haku as he pointed into the mist, towards the end of the bridge. Naruto looked over in the direction Haku was pointing. For some reason, he could sense that something was there, something with the intent to kill. Naruto delivered a punch to Haku, enough to knock him unconscious but not enough to kill him as Naruto stormed off towards the source of killing intent. Kakashi was facing Zabuza, who was now immobilized by Kakashi's dogs. Suddenly, he felt a burst of demonic chakra coming from the direction of Naruto. Both he and Zabuza felt it and Kakashi knew what it was. He was afraid that the Kyuubi had broken through the seal. However, Kakashi realized that the seal had not broken on, only some of the chakra had managed to leak out. He knew he had to end it. "I have copied 1000 jutsu Zabuza, but now you will see my one original jutsu," Kakashi said, making a few hand seals. Suddenly, a mass of lightning appeared in Kakashi's hand. "Raiden. Reikiri," Kakashi said as he dashed towards Zabuza, intending to kill him with his lightning blade. As Kakashi thrust his hand towards Zabuza, it was intercepted by the most unexpected turn of events. Some man had come flying out of nowhere, crashing into Kakashi's charged hand, taking the Reikiri to his gut. Zabuza looked over at his stroke of just pure dumb luck and realized that man was one of Goto's. "Kakashi, release me so I can dispel the mist and we can get a better look at what is going on," said Zabuza. Of course, Kakashi didn't buy it. "And why should I?" Kakashi asked. "The minute I do that, you're either going to resume attacking me or try and kill Tazuna. That man is one of Goto's. Haku and I suspected Goto would try to double-cross us and we were planning on killing him after we were done here. If one of his men are here, then that only means that there are more of him here. I just need my arms to get rid of the mist," explained Zabuza. Kakashi thought, "Fine, but try anything and the next Reikiri will be going straight through your head," threatened Kakashi. He ordered the dogs restraining Zabuza's arms to let go and Zabuza did as he said he would, release the mist. Once the mist cleared, Kakashi could see what was going on. There was a group of roughly 50 to 60 thugs on the far end of the bridge and Naruto beating up one who was unfortunate enough to get too far ahead. "Sasuke!" shouted Sakura as she ran to where Sasuke was lying on the ground. There was a faint pulse and she began carefully removing the senbon from the Uchiha pincushion. Zabuza looked over at the battered Haku on the ground and his cold exterior began to melt. Now realizing that the rest of Goto's men could see him, Naruto retreated back to where the rest of the team was. He could feel the demonic chakra drain from him as he did so. So they are not dead yet, how disappointing, Gato called out, looking at the exhausted ninja standing in front of him. Why are you here? Zabuza asked. It's simple, I actually planned to do this from the start. I'm here to kill you, Gato claimed. It's what I do, I hire missing ninja to do my work. They are done, I kill them so that I don't have to pay them. Nice plan, don't you think? The only problem is you. PFF'd, Zabuza the demon of the hidden mist. You can barely stand. Kakashi, this fight is over. I have no more reason to fight you or go after Tazuna, Zabuza said as Kakashi agreed. Gato walked over to Haku, who was lying unconscious on the ground just in front of the rest of the ninja and began beating on the unconscious body. Yeah, take this you little punk. This is what you get for breaking my arm, shouted Gato. He then pulled out a blade from his side. PHF'd. This is what happens to a worthless tool of mine. Naruto tried to rush to save Haku, only to be held back by Zabuza himself. What are you doing? Shouted Naruto. Can't you see that he's going to kill Haku? Don't you even care just a little bit? He's done everything for you and you've done nothing but look at him as a tool. He's more than just that, UKN. Stop kid, said Zabuza, tears rolling down his face. I know what I need to do. Can I borrow a kunai? Naruto nodded and handed Zabuza one of his knives. Zabuza instantly disappeared and repapered behind Gato, driving the kunai into the back of Gato's skull. You sick, disgusting man, get away from him, said Zabuza as Gato dropped to the ground, dead. He then picked up the battered Haku and retreated back to where Kakashi and Team 7 were. Hey, you killed our meal ticket, the group of thugs said as they charged the ninja. Kill them. Suddenly, arrows came flying out of some still lingering mist and killed most of the bandits. If you come any further, the citizens of this island will kill you. Inari shouted with all the villagers standing behind him. Inari, Naruto called out. A hero shows up at the last second, right? Inari said, returning a smile to Naruto. To give the thugs one last push to flee, Naruto made about 36 clones while Kakashi did the same, although Kakashi's weren't all shadow clones. The thugs fled the island, the villagers had won their village back. Sasuke. Sakura shouted out in delight as Sasuke opened his eyes. UHG. Sakura, you're heavy, Sasuke responded weakly. Sakura began to cry and soon gave Sasuke a big hug. Sakura, that hurts, Sasuke said. He still had a few needles in him. What about Naruto and that masked kid? Sakura pointed to them and Sasuke saw Zabuza supporting a weak Haku. Why are they not fighting? Gato broke his deal and they are no longer enemies, Sakura said. Naruto turned around and realized that Sasuke was alright. Kakashi then turned to Zabuza. So what are you going to do now? Kakashi asked Zabuza. Right now, I don't really know, Zabuza responded. Naruto then came up to them and began acting like the idiot everyone knew and loved. Hey Kakashi-sensei, can they come back to the village with us? Naruto asked. He then turned to Zabuza. You guys could stop running and start a new life again. Hell, you could even become ninja of our village. You really are an idiot kid, said Zabuza. However, there was something about that appealed to Zabuza. He never imagined himself settling down again after leaving Kiri, but Haku, perhaps the boy could use some rest. To be honest, I would actually like that, but I am a missing nin and an A-rank criminal. I would just go back to either imprisonment or death. Kakashi-sensei, can't you do anything about that? You're pretty high up, Naruto said. Kakashi figured he would regret this later. For your good work, I can send a message to the Hokage about this, Kakashi said, turning to a surprised Zabuza. Based on the condition of everyone, we will be here at least another week. I will send word to the Hokage, telling him of your intentions. Do realize that if you are given a chance, you will have to undergo extensive analysis to ensure that you mean no harm to the village. Zabuza thought to himself for a moment. Well, if there seems to be a chance, it would be a nice change. Even Sasuke was happy with this. If they come to the village, then that will give him an opportunity for a rematch with Haku. With that, everyone returned to the village to recover. Haku regained conscious, but was groggy and Sasuke was still sore from being a human pincushion. As Kakashi said, they would be there for at least another week and a week's worth of rest was much needed. The following day, Naruto found a quiet place out in the forest to sit down. There was still something he had to do after yesterday. He began meditating, hoping to get into contact with the Kyuubi inside him. "Well, it seems as if you still want to talk," the fox said. "I figured I would at least hear you out. So what is it you want?" Naruto responded. "I want to make an offer with you, Kit," the fox said, "and I suggest you listen before you go blowing your mouth off like you normally do." "What do you mean?" Naruto asked, trying to restrain himself from the fox's obvious taunt. "To understand where I'm going with this, you need to understand my past," explained the Kyuubi. "I am one of the 9-tailed beasts that came into existence over 1,000 years ago. During that time, you humans have attempted to gain control of our powers and use us as tools. We, on the other hand, wanted nothing to do with you and minded our own business. Slowly, you humans managed to seal us inside yourselves, inventing the idea of a Jinchuriki." What's a tailed beast? And what's a Jinchuriki?" asked Naruto. Sadly, the Kyuubi knew the kid was going to start asking questions like that. However, he couldn't help but drop his head. "As I said, I am a tailed beast. There are 9 of us in existence. We are demons who are classified by the number of tails we have, starting from the Ichibi, 1 tails, and ending at myself, the Kyuubi, 9 tails. Demons usually have some sort of defining feature that distinguishes their power amongst one another. For tailed beasts, it is the number of tails we have. Since I am the Kyuubi, I am the most powerful of the tailed beasts. You with me so far?" Naruto nodded, indicating that he understood what a tailed beast was, at least to an extent. "Now, as for Jinchuriki, let's just say that is what you are." "What are you talking about? I'm a ninja and a person, not a Jinchuriki, whatever that is," replied Naruto. "It doesn't matter if you are a puny human. A Jinchuriki is a human who has a demon sealed inside them," explained the Kyuubi. "So that means you are sealed inside me?" realized Naruto. You're starting to catch on, Kit. Now don't interrupt me for a bit and listen to the next part of my story," said the Kyuubi. "Now, being the most powerful of the tailed beasts, I was able to remain free from being sealed the longest. Humans had attempted to capture me, like that pair of weaklings that I ate, but failed. It wasn't until that man came along and used his accursed Sharingan to trap me in some sort of genjutsu which he used to control my actions." "Sharingan? You mean like Kakashi-sensei and Sasuke?" asked Naruto, interrupting the fox's story. The fox growled at Naruto for interrupting him. "Yes, like the eyes your teacher and that other brat you're with have. However, this man's eyes were much colder and much more powerful. He used them to manipulate me into attacking your village almost 100 years ago. With my power, he fought against your Hokage and lost. As a result, I was finally sealed into a human. For the next 88 years, I was sealed inside a Jinchuriki, trying my hardest to escape, but no luck." "Escape? But why?" asked Naruto. "What can I say? I don't like being trapped in a cage," responded the fox. "It was almost 12 years ago that I finally escaped. However, he was there, waiting. I thought he was dead, but that insolent cockroach came crawling back to me." "Hold on," said Naruto. His interruptions were irritating the fox even more. "Who is he?" The Kyuubi growled a bit, letting out some of his killing intent. "Madara Uchiha." "Madara Uchiha? I've heard that name before, but where?" asked Naruto. The Kyuubi explained to Naruto that he probably heard it during class as the battle between Hirashima Senju, the Shoden Hokage, and Madara Uchiha was one of the biggest pieces of Konoha history. Naruto nodded his head and told the fox that was probably the one lecture that he had not slept through. "But wait, Uchiha? Does that mean Sasuke is?" "Yes, that little Uchiha brat on your team is most likely a descendant of Madara Uchiha. However, Madara abandoned his clan in search of power, me. He was bitter at the fact that his rival, the Shoden Hokage, had received the position of Hokage instead of him, so he left the village. A few years later, he returned to destroy the village using my power. After that, I thought he was dead and I was finally done with that insolent bastard. However, I was wrong. Like I told you, he was the one who freed me from my Jinchuriki vessel 12 years ago. Before I could even take a free breath, he had me under his control. By the time his control ended and I had a free mind again, I was already being sealed into you by that other bastard, the Yondaime Hokage. Hey, don't insult the Yondaime like that, said Naruto. However, there was something he wanted to know. But, why me? Why did he seal you into me? All I can tell you is that with the seal that he used, I needed to be sealed inside a newborn infant with undeveloped chakra coils, otherwise I would destroy my host upon sealing. I guess you just happened to be the only newborn around. The Kyuubi laughed at Naruto's misfortune, but quickly resumed the remaining portion of his story. For the past 12 years, I have been trapped inside you. We haven't talked until now because you haven't been truly aware of my presence until just yesterday. So if you hate humans so much for sealing you, then why did you help me? Asked Naruto. He wanted to know why the fox had helped him and even gave him the power to save Sasuke, despite an Uchiha being the source of his problems. Because, that is where I am trying to get at. I want to make a deal with you. Although I don't like the idea of working with you, my attempts at freedom these past 100 years have not been that successful. Wait, did you say work with me? Asked Naruto, who was becoming increasingly excited by the thought of a demon fox at his command. Don't get the wrong idea, Kit. I said I would work with you, not submit myself to you, explained the fox. Naruto was now slightly depressed. So what does that mean? He asked. Simple. I will help you and I will even give you the ability to use my chakra, unopposed in certain situations. However, I expect something in return. Naruto knew this was too good to be true. Okay, so what is it you want? He asked. You should know from hearing my story, actually, it's two things I want. I want my freedom from being sealed again after you die, and yes, that day will come in time. I also want you to help me kill that cockroach of an Uchiha. Wait, but if you want your freedom, then what's to stop you from destroying the village? Asked Naruto, now concerned with what the fox was asking. The fox rolled a contract out in front of Naruto, revealing his agreement. This is a blood contract. Even to demons, this is binding. Basically, it states that I will lend you my chakra should you find yourself in a situation when it is required. With my help, you could become as strong as or even stronger than the Hokage. What I am trying to say is that I will help you along your journey to become Hokage. But, when you do, you will make sure that I am granted my freedom upon your death. I even promise to leave your village alone once I'm free so long as they don't try to imprison me. Furthermore, I will do whatever is within my power to ensure that you die of old age and not battle, although that will still be a possibility if you get too far in over your head. Wait, what do you mean? How can you help me survive till I'm an old man? Naruto asked. Have you noticed that you heal extremely fast compared to most people? Asked the fox. No, I thought that was normal. The fox nearly face planted at the kid's cluelessness. Baka, when a human breaks a bone, it takes them weeks to recover, yet you can fully heal in a matter of hours. Naruto just gasped at this. This only served to inflate his already big head. Anyways, you already have an increased healing factor just by the normal flow of my chakra from your seal. If the flow were to be increased, it is possible that you could heal wounds that would kill you. Now Naruto was wondering what the fox meant by a normal chakra flow from the seal. This seal on me allows for a small amount of my chakra to mix with yours, giving you that increased healing factor of yours and even that massive chakra reserve that you've developed. Naruto had already been informed that he had a massive reserve of chakra after he proved that he was able to create thousands of shadow clones on the night of the Mizuki incident. However, this seal does pose a problem. Although it is weakening slowly, allowing me to safely flow some more chakra into your system, it was initially designed to keep the two of us separate. I can't just give you all of my power at the moment because that would break the seal, killing both of us. In fact, the most I can give you right now is just a little more than I gave you yesterday. What? But I thought you had a ton of chakra to give, shouted Naruto. I do. The amount of chakra that I possess is so large, that it is considered infinite by your human standards, but this seal prevents me from releasing it all at once. If I try to force more chakra through the seal than it can take at the time, then I run the risk of breaking it, effectively killing the two of us. The more chakra that flows through the seal, the more stress it puts on your body. I have noticed that the seal weakens over time, which will allow you to use even more of my chakra in the future. I also believe that there is a key that can safely open this seal, allowing us to merge our chakra completely, and you will have full access to my powers and I will have the power to kill that bastard. Naruto thought about what the Kyuubi had said, looking over the contract in front of him. The terms on the contract were exactly the same as what they had discussed. However, he saw a name on the contract that he didn't quite recognize. "Who's this Kurama listed on the contract?" asked Naruto. "That would be me. Kurama is my true name. So what do you say, Kit? Do we have an agreement?" Naruto took a few more moments to think about what they had discussed. Finally, he figured that everything was okay and signed his part of the contract as Kurama did the same. Chapter 6. Trials. It was late in the afternoon in Konoha. Team 8 was finishing up their D-rank missions for the day. Being an Inuzuka, Kiba naturally hated cats. However, after today Kiba was ready to wipe out every cat from the face of the planet. Once again, Tora had managed to escape, and as such, the Capture Tora mission was reinstated. This time it was assigned to Team 8. The first time it was assigned to Team 7, the past 3 times went to Team 10, and it was about time Team 8 got to experience firsthand one of the most frustrating missions in all the 5 great nations. Kiba had received most of the injuries, with multiple scratch marks all over his face and other places. Unfortunately, Hinata had a mark on the left side of her face from trying to pry the cat off of Kiba before Kurenai could put it under a genjutsu. Hinata arrived back at the Hyga compound. Like always, her father greeted her with the usual emotionless question of asking how her missions went. However, after seeing the scratch mark on the side of her face, it became obvious exactly which mission she was assigned. Hiyashi recalled the time when he was just starting out as a genin. There was always a mission that required a team to capture a renegade cat that belonged to the Fire Lord's wife. The cat's name was Tori, the mother of Tora. If there was any true demon spawn in the village, it was that damn cat. Like it was for Hiyashi, this mission was considered a rite of passage for newly graduated genin, as almost everyone in the village has had to catch Tora or one of her predecessors. "Hello, father," Hinata said, giving her father a quick bow. "Welcome home, Hinata. I would ask you how your missions went today, but I think I already know," Hiyashi said to his daughter. Hinata quickly explained the other mission that they had. Afterwards, Hiyashi took Hinata and her sister, Hanabi, into the family dojo for a quick sparring session. Like always, Hanabi had bested Hinata, much to Hiyashi's disappointment. At the Hokage's tower, the third had just received the mission report from Team 7's most recent C-rank mission. He opened it and began reading. He nearly had a heart attack from what he read. "Lord Hokage, I am reporting in on the mission, Escort to the Land of Waves." The mission was originally assigned a C-rank mission, but was quickly upgraded to a B-rank mission after 2 Kiri Chunin attacked our group. Their target was Tazuna. Despite the encounter, everyone was unharmed and we decided to continue with the mission. I regret to inform you that this was a mistake and we should have cancelled the mission. It was then decided to upgrade the mission to an A rank after we were attacked by the missing ninja Zabuza Momochi and an accomplice disguised as a Kiri hunter ninja. Naruto and Sasuke proved to be invaluable in that attack as Zabuza and his accomplice was forced to retreat. For the next week, my team was stationed on guard duty. The following day, Zabuza and his accomplice reappeared. Our team engaged them and fought until the fight was interrupted by Gato and his subordinates. Gato has been controlling the shipping and economy of the nation, effectively controlling it and its people through oppression and fear. As a result, they revealed their intentions to kill all of us, including Zabuza and his accomplice, Haku. However, with the help of Zabuza and Haku, Gato was quickly killed and his subordinates scattered. By the time you read this, the bridge that Tazuna was charged to build should be completed or within a day of completion. I have been informed that a representative of the Land of Waves will be traveling to Konoha and the Land of Fire capital to arrange trade agreements as an attempt to repair the economy of the Land of Waves and thank us for our intervention. I also have a rather odd request coming from Zabuza and Haku. It appears as if the two of them have experienced a change of heart, thanks to their encounter with Naruto. The two of them are requesting an opportunity to join Konoha as ninja. While I normally would disregard such a request, I have reason to believe that they are sincere with their words. Haku also possesses a rare bloodline, the Hyaden, which may prove an invaluable addition for the village. Zabuza has informed me that he is willing to undergo any mental interrogation or trials that would be required for him to prove his intentions to join the village. Kakashi Hitaki, Jonin. "Sir, are you all right?" the Hokage's assistant asked, seeing his facial expression after reading the report. Please summon the village council along with Ibiki, Anko, and Inoichi for an emergency meeting in 30 minutes, the Hokage said. Naruto had just come out of his conversation with the Kyuubi before returning to Tazuna's house. He was happy that he would now have the ability to use the Kyuubi's chakra, unimpeded, even if it was only a fraction of the Kyuubi's power at this point in time. With it, he would be as strong as the Hokage in no time. Kurama had explained one last detail about using the Kyuubi chakra, and that was the presence of a chakra cloak if he tapped into enough of the chakra. However, it was explained that given the current state of Naruto's seal, the most he could safely use would be one tail of the cloak for the time being. After using said demonic chakra, it would be common for Naruto to experience extreme exhaustion. Naruto returned to the bridge builder's house. Haku was set up in the guest room, trying to rest the injuries that Naruto had inflicted on him. Naruto had apologized to the boy, which was graciously returned. The day of their fight, everyone, Haku especially, had pretty much spent the entire day resting. Haku and Sasuke were pretty much told to rest for the rest of the week while their injuries healed. The day after the fight, Tazuna wanted to get started on the bridge again. As such, the remnants of Team 7 continued with guard duty. There were a few incidents with some of Gato's men trying to take revenge on the ninja or trying to reclaim the island that they had once controlled. However, they were quickly dispatched. Zabuza had tried to apologize to Tazuna for trying to kill him, resulting in the demon of the hidden mist working on the bridge as well, as Tazuna needed the labor to complete the bridge by the end of the week like he had intended. However, there were two things he had on his side now. One was that the workers were not scared of Gato and they wouldn't quit when it got too late in the day, allowing construction to continue for longer. Second, he fully underestimated Naruto. Kakashi had suggested that Naruto use his clones to help Tazuna out, and the help of 100 extra hands really worked, even if they did disappear whenever one clone missed a nail with a hammer and accidentally hammered his own finger. The third entered the council hall to see that the village council had assembled, although rather hastily. A few of the elder members were nagging the aging Hokage as to why this meeting was called so late at night. The reason I called you all is regarding a report I received from Team Kakashi, who was assigned on a C-rank mission to escort Tazuna, the bridge builder, to the Land of Waves, the third announced. After reading the mission report, it was upgraded to an A-rank mission. This sent stirs through the chamber. A-rank? Why was it upgraded to an A-rank mission? Hamaru, one of Hiruzen's counselors, asked. The team encountered and battled the missing ninja Zabuza Momochi. The third's words once again sent stirs throughout the council. Zabuza Momochi? Are they all right? Is Sasuke Uchiha all right? Asked a member of the council who ranked right up there with Sasuke's fangirls. The Hokage nodded, reassuring the council member. So I assume you have sent a more qualified team to replace Team Kakashi? Asked Kaharu, the Hokage's other advisor. No, once again, there was talk amongst the council. This is the reason I have summoned you here. They have been involved in the death of Gato, business tycoon. However, it has been revealed that Gato was a crime lord who has been oppressing the people of the Land of Waves for the past few years. He hired Zabuza and an accomplice to assassinate Tazuna before his bridge was completed. Tazuna's bridge was the one thing that could weaken Gato's grasp on the island's economy. A few of the council who were more versed in economics agreed. However, it appears that Zabuza turned on Gato with the intention of aiding Team Kakashi after he had a change of heart. I received a request that Hitaki Kakashi has forwarded from Zabuza Momochi that is asking us to accept Zabuza and his accomplice, Haku, as a member of this village. Why should we do that? Zabuza is listed as a missing ninja by the Hidden Mist village. There could be political implications as to this, one of the counselors stated. I am well aware that, while we are considered neutral with Kirigakure no Sato, the taking in of Zabuza Momoichi could result in some unwanted political implications, the Sandame pointed out. However, it is not uncommon for villages to take the missing ninja of other villages. After all, that was the reason Hunter Ninja were commissioned, am I correct, Inuzuka-san? Sume Inuzuka stood up. That is correct. My clan contains some of the best hunter ninja in the village, and it is the job of said hunter ninja to track down and capture or eliminate a missing ninja before they can sell any secrets to a village. However, should a village be fortunate enough to obtain a high-ranked missing ninja, the secrets they can obtain are substantial. It only further the reasons as to why we a village would take a missing ninja in. I agree with you on that, Inuzuka-san. Now the question is, what can Zabuza Momoichi provide for us? He has been missing from his village for at least 6 years now, and some of his secrets would be considered outdated, said a bandaged man. Danzo, you of all people know that even old secrets can be considered useful, said the Sandame. Besides, Kakashi included a few preliminary reports on Zabuza Momoichi and his accomplice, Haku Yukie. The report on Haku stated that the boy possessed a rare bloodline. Hiruzen did it. He pulled the bloodline card. The counselors looked on at him with all interests set on this bloodline. Konoha loved bloodlines, as seen with how they treated the Hyuga and Uchiha when the clan was still around. Hokage-sama, is there any mention as to which bloodline this child possesses? Asked another member of the council. Yes. Kakashi mentioned the boy using Hyaten Jutsu during their encounter, said the Sandame. This stirred conversations in the room immediately. The Hyaten was believed lost when Kirigakure no Sato initiated their bloodline purges, something Konoha saw as a travesty. Are you sure it is the true Hyaten? Asked the same counselor. I am fairly certain that it is the true Hyaten. Kakashi mentioned the boy's ability to form ice out of thin air, not just simply manipulating pre-existing ice like the ninja in Snow County do. I do believe that this is truly the Hyaten, said the Sandame. A few of the counselors couldn't help but praise their luck. They were so close to obtaining another bloodline, something they felt Konoha had been lacking for the past decade or so. A little more discussion ensued until a final vote was called for on whether or not to extend a preliminary invitation to Zabuza Momoichi and Haku Yukie. The vote was strongly in favor of extending the invitation after a trial had been conducted to determine Zabuza's true intentions. 4 days had passed since Gato's defeat, and the bridge was now complete, thanks to the help of a particular one-man, Blonde Army. That night, the village held a rather large celebration to celebrate the liberation of the wave from Gato, a future of economic prosperity. Every ninja there was seen as a hero who helped to overthrow Gato, even Zabuza. But the one who really got most of the credit was Naruto for inspiring the villagers to stand up against the tyranny of people like Gato. Sasuke had healed almost completely to the point where you would be ready to train again the next day. They would still remain in the wave for another 2 days as Haku wasn't quite ready for long traveling yet. Even then, he wouldn't be able to travel at a high pace, but it would be faster than the pace Team 7 made to get to Zuna there. While Team 7 was rather friendly that night, it still consisted of a few attempts by Naruto to get Sakura to go out with him, and a few attempts by Sakura to get Sasuke to go out with her. Neither Naruto nor Sakura had much success. The remaining 2 days, Kakashi gave to his team to rest and take a small vacation, something Sakura welcomed with open arms. Sasuke, on the other hand, used that day to get in some more training. He was ecstatic, even if it didn't show, that he had unlocked the Sharingan, his clan's bloodline. While it was still in the early stages, it was the Sharingan nonetheless. Kakashi had also offered to give help Sasuke get adjusted to his newly found dojutsu. The training offer was extended to the rest of the Team 7, with Naruto taking up the offer and Sakura deciding she would rather get some rest. Kakashi would balance his time between training Sasuke with the Sharingan and working on fixing Naruto's taijutsu. While Naruto had been considered passable back in the academy and his taijutsu had made a lot of progress in the last few months, it still needed some work to make it acceptable. The next morning, the 6 of them headed off towards Konoha. It was about 2 days' travel with only ninja traveling this time. They arrived at the village gate early in the afternoon to find a few Anbu waiting for them. Zabuza Momochi, you are to come with us for an investigation into your intentions on joining us, the bear-masked Anbu said. Zabuza complied and he and Haku left with the Anbu. Kakashi-sensei, how long will it take before we know if they can join? Naruto asked. Sakura and Sasuke also wanted to know. Their trial is scheduled for 3 o'clock 2 days from now. It is then that we will know their fate in Konoha, Kakashi responded. To be honest, I don't think Haku will have much of a problem seeing as he has never had official ninja training, and because of his bloodline, but Zabuza could be a different story. After reporting into the Hokage, Team 7 was dismissed. Despite still being a rookie, Naruto had just survived and completed an A-rank mission, something that was reserved for High Chunin and Jonin. He was ecstatic and decided to celebrate with Iruka at Ichiraku. Much to Naruto's dismay, Team 7 was stuck doing D-rank missions the following 2 days. Kakashi figured that it would be better for them to get a few short missions before Zabuza's trial. Not to mention, they practically had an entire month's worth of training in a 3-week mission. It was getting close to 3 and they proceeded to the Academy Auditorium, where Zabuza's trial was to be held. When they got there, they found the room to be rather packed. Apparently word that the demon of the hidden mist wanting to join the village had spread. They managed to find a set of seats next to Team 8, with Naruto ending up to a poor Hinata who would be turning redder and redder throughout the entire thing. Next thing that happened, made a guy, the Jonin in the village with a shiny black bowl haircut who was wearing green spandex, came in and started going on about their eternal rivalry. Guy was being a little too energetic and guy-like for the rest of Team 7, who were trying to inch their way away from the mighty green beast. This in turn, pushed Naruto closer to Hinata until he was virtually on top of her. The close proximity of her crush caused the poor girl to faint in her chair. She wouldn't wake up for a while. As the trial started, the third Hokage entered, along with some of the more prominent members of the village council. He announced to everyone the reason why they were there, although everyone pretty much knew why. Soon after, Zabuza and Haku entered the auditorium, escorted by a few Anbu. Zabuza Momochi, Haku Yuki, you are here today to justify your intent to join this village as ninja of Konoha. Is that correct? The third began reading from the paper he was holding. Why don't we get straight to the point? Inoichi, Ibiki, what are the results of your interrogation sessions with Zabuza Momochi? Lord Hokage, Inoichi said, standing up. I will be honest. I was not expecting much to warrant admission of this missing nin into the village, especially given his record. Zabuza gave a slight tisk under his own breath. Inoichi then proceeded to present his report on the mental findings of Zabuza's mental stability. I do find that he is sincere in his request to join and serve the village of Konoha though. I have found the same to be true with Haku Yukie here as well. Very well Inoichi, the Hokage said. Ibiki? Hokage-sama, like Inoichi, I had high doubts about these two. While I do feel that Zabuza here is not lying, his previous record of instating a coup in Kirigakure no Sato must be taken into account, said Ibiki. Zabuza sighed as the Hokage began to speak again. Zabuza, do you have anything to say about your actions? Asked the Hokage. I do. I believe you have received reports on the state of the mist under the rule of the Sandaime Mizukage, said Zabuza. Hiruzen nodded. One such measure he instigated was the blood limit purges. During that time, I encountered Haku, who I could not allow to suffer under the Mizukage's wrath. The village was not healthy under the Mizukage's oppression. However, even just a few glances of Konoha have told me that Konohagakure no Sato is nothing like Kirigakure no Sato. It is a village that I would rather serve over Kirigakure no Sato. Very well, I have already discussed with the council about these two joining the village and it appears that they have passed Inoichi and Ibiki's examination, the Hokage stated. Hamaru stood up and addressed the two in question. Zabuza Momochi, Haku Yuki, it was decided the other day that should we determine that your intentions are good for Konoha, that you be granted a chance-earned citizenship. However, one thing that has intrigued us is Haku's bloodline. Haku, if you don't mind, there are some of us here who would like a demonstration of your abilities. Haku obliged and the chakra-suppressing cuffs were removed. He made a quick hand sigh. Hyeten. Demonic ice mirrors. With that, a mirror in front of Haku formed out of ice and so did one on the other side of the room. The elders were impressed that the Yuki bloodline, the Hyeten, still existed. He performed a few more movements, jumping quickly from mirror to mirror, and showing off his accuracy with Senbon. So the Hyeten still exists, Danzo thought to himself. Hiruzen shot him a look, indication to Danzo not to try anything funny with this boy. It was known to a few of the higher-ups that Danzo was the leader of a secret Enbu organization known as Root. Over the past years, Hiruzen had managed to loosen Danzo's grip on village power, but he was still aware that Danzo would try to recruit some ninja with potential, Haku in particular, into his forces. Kaharu then stood up to address Haku. Haku Yuki, you have demonstrated a rather advanced blood limit. Our records show that you are 13 years of age. By law of this village, if someone possesses a blood limit, they will be allowed to start a clan when they are of age, Kaharu said. Kakashi knew this was going to happen with Haku and he had mentioned to Zabuza beforehand. Granting Haku clan status was a way for them to further cement the bloodline into the village. The Hokage took the floor once again. Zabuza Momoichi, Haku Yukie. You will be allowed to serve under this village so long as you comply with our laws and regulations. Zabuza, you will be assigned the rank of Chunin. You will also be placed on probation for the next 2 months along with supervised mission duty for the following 4 months. Should I find no issues with you being allowed to serve Konoha, you will be eligible to participate in the Jonin examinations at the end of the year to regain your previous rank of Jonin. If you do anything that endangers the village, the Anbu have orders to execute you. Do you understand and accept these terms? I accept them, Lord Hokage, Zabuza said, offering a respectable gesture and trying to get on the Hokage's good side already. Haku Yuki, seeing as you have no official ninja training, I must give you the rank of Genin and assign you to a team. I will find a team to place you on and you will begin once your placement is confirmed, said the Hokage. Do you accept these terms? I accept them, Lord Hokage, Haku said, following in Zabuza's stead. Naruto was ecstatic upon hearing this. He ended up hugging the nearest person around him out of joy, which just so happened to be Hinata, who was just waking up. Needless to say, she fainted again. If there are no other objections, then I call this meeting closed. You are dismissed, the Hokage announced. Following the trial, Kakashi was called into the Hokage's office. Kakashi, I want you to take Haku on your team, said the Hokage. But sir, I've already got 3 students. You can't expect me to take on a 4th. What will happen to the 3-man squad? Argued Kakashi. I am aware, but I am also aware of the paperwork that this little stunt will result in. If I'm going to have to deal with extra paperwork and possible fallout with Kiri, then the least you can do to help me is make finding Haku a team easy. Besides, your students are the only people in Konoha he knows and it will be good for him. If my suspicions are correct though, the council will try to have him promoted as soon as they can. They're like that when it comes to new bloodlines, said the Hokage. Do I make myself clear that you will take Haku on your team? Yes, Hokage-sama, I will incorporate him right away, said Kakashi, not wanting to argue with his leader. Kakashi caught his team meeting up with Haku and Zabuza outside the trial. It was there that he announced that Haku would be joining Team 7 for the time being. He then stated that the rest of the week would be dedicated to integrating Haku into the team. He then invited the new team and Zabuza to barbecue for dinner to get to know each other better. This also served as a little introduction to the team for Haku. They also managed to meet up with Team 10 and Asuma, who was intrigued by the fact that the Demon of the Hidden Mist would be joining them. It was also a little weird for him to be seeing one of the 7 swordsmen wearing a Konoha headband. Chapter 7. The new Team 7. Team 7 met up early the next morning at Training Ground 7. Naruto, Sakura, Sasuke, and their new teammate, Haku, arrived at the normal 9 a.m. time. Like always, Kakashi was a few hours late, showing up around 11 a.m. You're late. The older members of Team 7 shouted in unison. Sorry, but you see a black cat crossed my path and I felt that I should take the long way to avoid any unfortunate happenings, Kakashi said. No one believed him. Anyways, the main thing I want to do is get the 4 of you used to working together. Also, I want to see what Haku is capable of. Haku agreed to show the team some of his techniques. They already knew about his Hyoden, demonic ice mirrors, so he decided to move on to his other main ice technique, Hyoden, Ice Dome. That jutsu turned out to be a defensive jutsu that created a dome around Haku. Kakashi decided to test out the ice dome's strength. Much to his surprise, it withstood a good beating, requiring some of Kakashi's more powerful techniques to break the defense. Even though the team already knew about Haku's accuracy, they were still impressed at just how accurate he was using Senbon. Although Kakashi tried to convince him to use a more powerful weapon, Haku stuck by using the Senbon as he had the skill required to effectively use them. The only other techniques that Haku was able to use were the Suiden, sharp water needles, and another low-level water-type technique. Still, Kakashi was impressed that someone so young could already make use of 2 elements. At the same time, this worried him because he could see Naruto and Sasuke becoming more and more jealous of Haku's abilities. The 2 of them finally cracked. Kakashi-sensei, teach us a cool jutsu or something. Naruto said, we've already passed the water walking exercise and now it's time you teach us something useful. For once, both Sasuke and Sakura actually agreed with him. Kakashi closed his eyes and began thinking for a moment. All right, I suppose the three of you have shown me that you are ready to begin some ninjutsu training. Let's call it an early day. I'll go to the jutsu library and pick out a jutsu for each of you that I feel best suits you. Now here's the deal. I'll give you the entire morning to work on them, but you will be doing whatever missions we get in the afternoon without complaining. Do we have a deal? Yes, Naruto shouted out. Sasuke and Sakura quickly responded as well. Oh man, this is great. Finally, a new jutsu. Later that evening, the team met up for dinner as was suggested by Kakashi. So Haku, tell us a little about yourself, Sakura asked. Huh? What do you mean? The new member said. Well, you didn't live in Konoha and it sounds like you were traveling a lot. I'm sure you must have some interesting stories, the pink-haired Kunoichi explained. Well, I guess I could tell you about me, Haku said as the rest of the team listened in. Haku began to tell his story. I was born in a small village in the northern part of the Land of Water. It got cold enough there that it would snow a lot, which I guess could be why I can use ice style. It was a peaceful village despite the fact that our nation was at war. My father was a normal man, no shinobi training. He preferred to live a simple life as a farmer. One day, he met my mother and they fell in love. My mother seemed like a normal woman, although she used to be a shinobi. She was able to keep her abilities hidden due to the fact that the people of my village hated ninja. They saw them as responsible for the recent civil war and wanted nothing to do with them. To be with my father, my mother gave up her life as a ninja and settled down. Shortly after, I was born. At first, my father wasn't sure if I was a boy or girl because of my appearance, but my mother quickly explained that it was a common trait amongst her family that even the males had a feminine look to them. Everything was fine until I was 5. One day, I showed my mother something that I thought was cool and amazing. It was my height and abilities. I thought I saw a little bit of happiness in her eyes, but I was scolded for doing so. I guess she didn't want me using it, fearing that it would cause problems within our family. Haku trailed off into silence. Sakura could tell something was wrong and told Haku that he didn't have to say anything else. However, Haku shortly resumed the story, saying that it would be best for the team if they knew everything about his past. Despite her efforts to conceal my newfound abilities, my father had already witnessed what had happened. I don't know what drove him to so what he did next, but I think it was because he was afraid I would become a ninja or that the villagers were afraid of the powers I possessed. Haku took a short pause before continuing on. He gathered a mob of villagers and killed my mother. He then turned to me. I could see sadness in his eyes, but at the same time I could see fear. I could feel that he didn't want to do what he was doing, but the fear drove him. Looking over at my mother, lying dead next to me, I lost control of my power and encased the entire mob in ice, effectively killing them. Naruto stared wide-eyed at Haku. To his surprise, what Haku had experienced was similar to his childhood. He was certain that the villagers did not hate him, but they feared what was sealed inside him, the Kyuubi. Haku, I'm sorry that happened to you. Believe me, I know how you feel, the blonde-haired ninja said. I cannot explain why, but for some reason the villagers wanted nothing to do with me. Even now, they harass me. The rest of Team 7 had no idea what Naruto's childhood was truly like. I suppose the only one who could relate the best with Naruto was Sasuke, but even then it wasn't quite the same. Naruto told a few things about his own childhood, how the village hated him, how a mob was formed on his birthday each year, and how most of the village wished he was either gone or dead. He didn't reveal the reason for it, but he knew why they hated him. He had first realized the night when Mizuki had him steal the Forbidden Scroll. After that, the Sandaime had told Naruto a few more details on the secret that Mizuki had spilled. I'm sorry you had it like that. What are you going to do? Haku asked. I'm going to show them the real me. Even though they treat me like shit sometimes, I know that they are good people and I just need to show them that I will protect them, Naruto said. Haku was inspired by the boy's resolve. It's my dream. I will become Hokage and with that, the entire village will recognize me. I see. It seems like me, you have found some precious people that have already saved you from the hell that is loneliness, said Haku. Yeah, I found a few people willing to recognize like the old man Hokage, Iruka-sensei, Kakashi-sensei, Sakura, and even the Teme over there. He doesn't admit it, but I see the way he looks at me when we train together. He acknowledges that I am there and we use each other to push ourselves further, Naruto explained. Kakashi and Sakura thought what he was saying was sweet. Sasuke just shrugged it off, but the idiot was right. I am glad, because I also found someone who saw me as something more, Haku said. Zabuza? Sakura responded. Yes. And with that, Haku resumed his story. I was orphaned for about a few months. Even though it was cold outside due to the snow, my bloodline protected me. Then one day, I met Zabuza. At first, he just looked at me with pity, but then I saw in his eyes that he felt the same loneliness that I did. After that meeting, I joined him in his quest. After some time, he asked me to become his weapon, to serve as a shinobi with him. Before I met him, I lost my purpose in life. However, when he asked me to become a shinobi, it's as if he gave me a new purpose to live. I gladly accepted. Over the next couple of years, he trained me in the way of the shinobi and I eventually became his weapon. However, I will admit that I never liked the killing that came with it. That explains why you didn't kill Naruto and Sasuke back in the Land of Waves, Kakashi realized. He had a few other questions regarding that battle, but decided to hold them off for a better day. Sasuke wasn't happy by the fact that Haku had been holding back against them. He made a promise to himself to defeat Haku in their next rematch. Haku had a little more of his story to tell. We traveled together, picking up jobs like the one we had in the Land of Waves. During our journey, I remember meeting a man by the name Kimimaro. I remember him because I felt the same loneliness and sadness inside him that I once felt. I even offered for him to come along with us, but he refused, claiming he had to find his own way. I haven't seen him since, but I would sure like to know how he's been. Shortly after, we were given a job by Gato and that leaves us where we currently are, in Konoha, becoming a team. Wow, it seems like you've lived a rough and confusing life, Sakura said. Yes, I guess you could say so, but everything is now. Before these past few days, I even felt that Zabuza was looking for a purpose in life. However, your village appears to have given him another chance to start over. He will never admit it, but I think he is truly grateful. Although he is already mad that there are Anbu following him everywhere, Kakashi just smiled at Haku's last comment. The next morning, the new Team 7 awaited Kakashi at the training ground. He had promised them cool new jutsu and they were going to get it. The only question now was how late would Kakashi be. Surprisingly, he was only about 45 minutes late this morning, a new record for him. Alright. As promised, I went to the library this morning while you were doing your mission and I picked out some jutsu that I think you all should find useful, Kakashi said. He then handed a scroll to Naruto. Seeing as you can already use the shadow clone jutsu, I thought this would be perfect for you. Naruto opened the scroll and saw a jutsu. He read, Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu, A rank. He was ecstatic at the jutsu Kakashi picked out, seeing that it was an A rank technique. But he was a little curious as to what it did. Kakashi-sensei, what does this jutsu do and why is it considered an A rank? Naruto asked. Good of you to ask, Naruto. The reason it's A rank is because of the requirement of knowing the shadow clone jutsu, a B rank technique typically taught to Jonin ninja. What it does is it makes shadow clones of your shuriken, Kakashi explained. Naruto was a little deflated upon hearing this. That's it? He shouted. I thought you were going to give me something useful. If I wanted shadow clones of my shuriken, I would just make shadow clones and have them throw their shuriken. Kakashi sighed. It's not like that. Imagine the difference between one shuriken coming at you and dozens, even hundreds of shuriken coming at you. Naruto thought about what Kakashi said. Well, one shuriken isn't much and it can be easily blocked, but a lot of shuriken, well. Naruto said, with a lot of shuriken, your first thought is to get out of the way, as the more there are, the more difficult it is to block them. Now imagine if you could throw one shuriken at your enemy, but hit them with over 30 inches with that. Kakashi pulled out a few shuriken and threw at a training post. Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu, he shouted. Just before the shuriken hit the post, they copied itself into about 100 shuriken. Now the post was filled with metal shuriken impaled in it. Naruto's jaw dropped and Kakashi just smiled. If timed correctly, it is a very useful and deadly move. Kakashi then handed a scroll to Sasuke. Kaden. Dragon Fire Breath. Sasuke said, reading the description. B rank. Unlike your great fireball jutsu, this attack utilizes a constant stream of flames. Also, the range is greater, about double of your jutsu, and the flame is hotter, Kakashi said. Haku, if you could make a mirror. With that, Haku made an ice mirror. Kakashi used the great fireball jutsu on it. The fireball made contact and burst into flames. Afterwards, the mirror was still intact and only a few drops of water rolled down. The problem with your jutsu is that it's not powerful enough and it isn't sustained. Alright, so this jutsu is more powerful? Sasuke asked. Yes, it's at least 3 to 4x more powerful of a fire than your Kaden. Great fireball jutsu, now watch, Kakashi said, forming the hand seals for the Kaden, dragon fire breath. He sent a stream of flames towards the mirror. Unlike the fireball, this attack was sustained for many seconds, and when Kakashi was finished, most of the mirror had melted. Sasuke just stared at the mirror and smiled. Now this is what he had wanted. Kakashi handed a scroll to Haku. Now this technique is a water-style jutsu, but I'm sure you can find some way to make an ice-style jutsu from it. Haku read the scroll. Sweden. Water Whip, C rank, it read. Kakashi thought on the jutsu and performed it after a few minutes. A whip of water extended towards the training post, wrapping it up. It's not that powerful of a jutsu, but even I can see some potential for it to be greatly improved if you can incorporate your ice style into it. Haku gratefully accepted the task. Kakashi turned to Sakura. You were a little more difficult, but after analyzing your strengths, I think you would be better off learning a type of genjutsu, Kakashi said, handing her a scroll. And this technique reminded me a lot about you. Sakura opened the scroll and read, Cherry Blossom Blizzard. She now knew what Kakashi was talking about. Kakashi-sensei, what exactly is the point of genjutsu? Naruto asked. Well, if an opponent uses a genjutsu on you, she basically takes control of your chakra, disrupting their senses, unlike ninjutsu and taijutsu, which focuses on dealing physical harm to your opponent. Now genjutsu can either be illusionary or offensive. This one happens to be illusionary, but an offensive genjutsu has the potential to do some major mental damage, Kakashi said. Don't panic, I am now going to use this genjutsu on you. Kakashi activated the genjutsu and suddenly the 4 genin were enveloped in a blizzard of cherry blossoms. Soon, they all began to feel something tapping them on their back, but when they turned, there was nothing there but more cherry blossoms. Kakashi then came up behind Sakura and put a blunt knife to her neck and cancelled the genjutsu. Don't worry, Sakura, the knife wasn't sharp, Kakashi said as Sakura was rubbing her neck where the knife was. If you noticed, I tapped you all multiple times, but when you looked, you saw nothing, correct? The 4 genin nodded. Now imagine if every time I tapped you, I was actually stabbing you with a knife. They soon got what Kakashi was talking about. The strength of a genjutsu depends on 2 things: the actual strength of the technique and the ability of the caster. A genjutsu master can make the weakest genjutsu stronger than the most powerful genjutsu if it were used by a novice. While I am proficient in genjutsu, if you need some expert advice, Sakura, I suggest you ask Kurenai Yuhi, sensei of Team 8. The 4 of them nodded at their sensei for the techniques that he gave them. Kakashi sensei, speaking of genjutsu, there is a way to counter genjutsu. Are you going to show us how? Sasuke asked. I will. But why don't you work on these jutsu and I'll teach you how to counter genjutsu next week, Kakashi said. Inside his head, he was laughing at his brilliance. This should keep Naruto and Sasuke quiet for a few weeks. Yes, he had purposefully given Naruto and Sasuke a high-level jutsu so that they would stop pestering him, and this way, so long as they played along like good little genin, everything would run smoothly for a few weeks at least. With Naruto, he heard a voice begin to speak inside his head. Naruto, Kuramas said to him. Since we are on the topic of genjutsu, there is something I must tell you regarding the subject. I was able to be controlled by genjutsu, but now that you and I are working together, it should have little to no effect on us. Why is that? Naruto asked the demon in his head. Basically, to disrupt a genjutsu, it requires a disruption in your chakra flow. If you are in a genjutsu, I can provide a small burst of chakra, which should dispel it. It's one of the few things I can help you out with, given the current condition of this seal. Alright, that sounds good, Naruto responded. With that, Naruto returned to reality. The rest of the afternoon was spent practicing their jutsu. As expected, this jutsu quickly turned into a rivalry match between Naruto and Sasuke, and the two began diving head first into their new jutsu. The agreed conditions were that Naruto would have to produce a dozen shuriken from one shuriken, the equivalent of what Kakashi had done in the demonstration, and that wasn't the best Kakashi could do. And Sasuke had to be able to melt one of Haku's ice mirrors. "Are you all in position?" called a voice over the wireless headset. "I'm in position," called a feminine voice. "I'm ready," called a slightly bored voice. "I'm ready," called a new and kind of excited voice. "Why the hell are we doing this mission again, sensei?" shouted a very loud voice. "Because, Naruto, these D ranks build teamwork and we need to incorporate Haku into this team. Besides, don't you remember the deal we made?" reminded Kakashi. "Fine, let's just get this over with," said the now defeated Naruto. "All right, on 3, 1, 2, 3, go." With that, the 4 genin of Team 7 dove onto their target, a certain cat wearing a red ribbon. Yes, unfortunately for every genin of the village, the fire daimyo's wife was in town. "Do you have the target?" "Oh wow wow wow," screamed Naruto as the cat viciously clawed at his face. Sakura peeled the cat off and began stroking in the cat's sweet spot behind the ears that she had discovered the first time they had this mission, which instantly calmed the cat down. At the same time, inner Sakura was contemplating how much this secret of calming Tora down could be sold for. Chapter 8. The Rivalry Booms. 3 days passed since Kakashi had given his genin their new jutsu. For Team 7, the daily schedule consisted of Naruto and Sasuke would usually arrive at the training grounds sometime between 7 to 8. Haku would show up not too much longer after, and Sakura would show up by 9, after she finished fixing her hair and everything else that she felt she had to do to get Sasuke's attention. Kakashi said he would show up around 8:30 to help them, which meant he would normally show up around 10-10 to 30. At 12 o'clock, Team 7 would get a lunch break and then reconvene for a series of missions in the afternoon. This morning, Kakashi was sitting underneath a tree reading a book. He had just given Naruto and Sasuke some advice on their jutsu, and the two had gone straight to work figuring it out. "Silly genin," Kakashi said to himself. "It'll take weeks, maybe even months for them to get those jutsu down. But that means a good amount of time without them complaining about missions." "Yeah, I've got it," shouted Naruto as Kakashi nearly choked on his words. Kakashi looked over at Naruto's training stump and saw 2 shuriken lodged in the post. "Damn it," swore Sasuke to himself. "I won't let you get ahead of me, Naruto." While Naruto had just gotten his shuriken to duplicate, Sasuke had yet to turn his fireball into a flamethrower. That is until he did the jutsu again. Sasuke concentrated the chakra in his lungs, building up as much as he could. He made the necessary hand seals and took a deep breath, mixing the molten fire chakra with the air in his lungs. Kaden. Dragon Fire Breath Jutsu. Sasuke unleashed the fire in his lungs and a stream of flames were unleashed. This wasn't the previous fireball, this was a sustained stream of flames. Sasuke smirked at his progress, even if he didn't melt the ice. Kakashi stared on in amazement. "They've already got the basics down?" he thought. It should be at least another 2 weeks until Naruto could even make a single shuriken clone, or Sasuke could generate a constant stream of flames. Of course, Naruto only made 1 shuriken and Sasuke's fire wasn't strong enough, but still. Now all that's left is for them to figure out how to pump more power into the jutsu. Sasuke was panting hard, having used up a lot of chakra with that last attempt, and Naruto wasn't looking too much better. "All right, I think you all have deserved a break," said Kakashi, standing up. "You're all coming much farther than I initially expected. Why don't you grab lunch and I'll see you for missions later this afternoon." "Sasuke, do you want to get lunch?" Sakura asked. Like every other day, she was hoping Sasuke would say yes. "I'd rather not," responded Sasuke. "If you've got time to be bothering me, then you have time to be working on that jutsu Kakashi-sensei gave you." Sasuke left a deflated Sakura behind to go do whatever he did for lunch. Sakura, if you want you could come get some ramen with me," Naruto asked, trying to cheer his crush up. "And why would I want to do that?" growled Sakura. Like every other day, Naruto had been rejected as well. Later that afternoon, Team 7 received their mission. It was a simple D rank again. While they wanted to complain, Naruto and Sasuke kept their mouths shut. There would be plenty of time for complaining when they got their jutsus down. However, Naruto was steadily getting tired of the D rank. After the mission in the waves, he had been hoping for at least another C rank, even if he felt he was ready for a B rank or something more. Kakashi-sensei, I know we promised not to complain and everything, but I don't suppose we could do something different than a D rank. I know we are ready for another one, asked Naruto after they had reported in. Yeah, come on sensei. Naruto's right, Sasuke? Replied Sakura. Even she was getting tired of the D ranks again. Today they had to help out on a farm and Sakura was probably dirtier than she had ever been, a feeling she was not enjoying all that well. The Dobi's right. I know we promised not to say anything, but we've completed the equivalent of an A rank mission. These D ranks are just starting to get old again, responded Sasuke. Kakashi sighed. So much for the jutsus staving off their desire for something a little more. He looked over at Haku, who had just been smiling. Kakashi figured that Haku had just been putting a mask on and taking the D ranks. Perhaps. How about this? I'll reserve a C rank for a few days from now. I want to get Haku to 10 missions before we take on some longer mission, and I suspect a few more days of D ranks will get him there. Why does Haku need to get to 10 missions? Asked Sakura. It was just part of the requirement that Hokage-sama gave me when he assigned Haku to this team, said Kakashi. In reality, he needed to get Haku to the 10 mission minimum for the Chunin exams that were coming up in a few weeks. The council had requested that Sasuke and Haku specifically be able to compete in these exams. In reality, they were most likely trying to kiss up to the last two bearers of a rare bloodline. Fine, I suppose that will work, said Naruto. Good, now the four of you are done for today, I'll go and reserve our mission for a few days. Just remember that you have tomorrow off. I'll be around sometime around noon to help you, if you wish to train a little, as there is something I need to do in the morning. Today was their day off and Naruto and Sasuke were hard at work competing against one another to complete their jutsu. Thankfully for them, they had the entire day to work. They both had the basic forms of the jutsu down. They just had to increase the power now. Although Sakura enjoyed her days off, she had decided to use this day to train as well, especially after what Sasuke had said to her. She had tried to talk to Sasuke after their mission, but he made a comment that was basically translated as she was below Naruto. Naruto was now pulling his own weight in the team and his abilities were rapidly growing to a point where they were easily above hers. Sadly, she realized Sasuke was correct. During the wave mission, she had done nothing more than stand in front of Tazuna while Sasuke, Naruto, and Kakashi-sensei did all the fighting. Also, Naruto and Sasuke were constantly training, pushing each other while she would do nothing but sit around and fantasize over Sasuke. Not to mention, she was smart and it wasn't long before she was beginning to realize that Sasuke didn't care for her fangirl attitude. From the sounds of it, he wanted her to not be a burden. Perhaps if she were to be the one to get her jutsu down. Sakura remembered that Kakashi told her to go and see Kuranai, Team 8's sensei, if she needed help on the genjutsu. Thankfully, today was one of Team 8's training days and they weren't out on missions. Hey guys, Sakura shouted to Sasuke, Haku, and Naruto, but mostly to Sasuke. Sakura? Naruto asked, wondering what she was doing at the training ground on their day off. I thought this was your day off? It's okay Sakura, you don't have to come out here if you don't want to, Sasuke said smugly. Well, if you must know, I was talking to Kuranai-sensei about the genjutsu, and I think I have it, Sakura said, trying to impress Sasuke. She actually managed to get a little smile out of him. All right then, go ahead and let's see, Sasuke said, challenging what she was saying. Sakura went through the necessary preparations for the genjutsu and cast it on her three teammates. Just like Kakashi, cherry blossoms swirled around them, greatly obscuring their vision. Sakura then proceeded to tap Sasuke repeatedly as Kakashi had done. After she cancelled the jutsu, she was congratulated by Naruto. She was hoping that it would have been Sasuke saying that, although she did get a nod of approval from him. Considering that this was Sasuke, she would take that for now. They proceeded to continue training. Although Sakura truly wanted to go home, she knew that she would never get closer to Sasuke this way, so she stayed and trained with her team. A few more days passed with Naruto and Sasuke making some progress on their jutsu. Tomorrow would be the day that Kakashi said that they would be getting a C rank mission, and they knew that today would be the best day to get their jutsu down. It was getting late and Naruto and Sasuke were running low on chakra. They were either going to get their jutsu now with this last attempt, or they wouldn't have enough chakra for another attempt. Naruto and Sasuke took one look at each other, which basically said, "Watch this, I'm going to complete my jutsu with this last go." Haku nodded and made an ice mirror while Naruto pulled out a shuriken. Both of them focused, gathering their chakra for the upcoming jutsu. At the same time Sasuke unleashed his fine, Naruto let his shuriken go. After everything happened, Sasuke inspected the ice mirror that was no longer there, and Naruto went to count the number of shuriken in the stump. As Sasuke had completed his goal, Naruto counted 14 shuriken in the stump, meaning he had accomplished his goal as well. Up until now, Sasuke had always been beating Naruto, even if just barely, but now, they had tied. Naruto was gaining on him. Sasuke didn't like it and he had to push himself so that the Dobi wouldn't beat him. Sasuke had to admit though, he probably would not have gotten his jutsu, his first B-rank jutsu, completed in the time that he did if it wasn't for Naruto pushing him. Even Kakashi had mentioned that he had expected that it should have taken them at least 2 weeks to get the first part of the jutsu, which was the fire stream. For Naruto, the first part was getting the first shuriken clone. However, he had the jutsu complete in just over a week, something Kakashi didn't even think was possible. He still didn't want to admit it, but perhaps he had found a worthwhile rival. Kakashi appeared the next morning outside the mission hall holding the C rank that he had promised his students. It was a delivery mission. A lord by the name of Fujiko Kazaka had purchased a sword from a local weapon shop in Konoha. The sword was an older katana, crafted by the legendary swordsmith Masamune a few centuries ago. The age and maker of the sword made it an incredibly valuable piece of work, and both the seller and client were certain that there would be a few bandits along the delivery route. While the sword was valuable to a lord, it wasn't special in a shinobi sense, making it very unlikely that the sword would be targeted by a shinobi. As such, a C-rank mission was requested to deliver the sword, and a team of genin who had survived a face-to-face encounter with Zabuza Momoichi, let alone one who studied under Zabuza, was expected to be more than enough protection for said mission. "Kakashi-sensei, so what sort of cool mission are we doing today?" asked Naruto. "It's a delivery mission, Naruto," responded Kakashi. "What, a delivery mission? But you promised us a cool C-rank mission." "All the delivery missions so far have been nothing but boring D ranks," complained Naruto. Kakashi just chuckled. "This one's a little different. We have been assigned to deliver a valuable sword to Fujiko Kazaka, a lord in the northwestern part of the Land of Fire. While I don't expect any shinobi activity on this mission, the sword is valuable, and as such attractive to thieves and bandits. Now, go pack for about 3 days and meet me at the gates in an hour," said Kakashi. Team 7 accepted the mission without any more complaints. A few thieves was much better than catching a cat or milking a cow. A few hours after they left the village, any boredom Naruto may have accumulated was soon ridded from him as they encountered their first bandit attack. A group of bandits, roughly half a dozen, emerged from the forest and demanded that the traveling ninja hand over any valuables they were carrying. When Kakashi denied their request, the bandits followed through on their threat and charged at the genin. Within about 20 seconds, all 6 of the bandits were incapacitated. Kakashi was glad to see that one of his students had put their new jutsu to good use. Sakura had used her genjutsu on the bandit she was facing to distract the man while she delivered a strong punch to the bandit's cheek, knocking him against a tree and unconscious. Naruto and Sasuke had both beaten their bandits pretty good, although they had not used the jutsu Kakashi had given them, which was understandable as their jutsus carried the potential to kill. It was hard distinguishing Haku's bandit from the porcupine that had just run out of the bushes a second ago. Kakashi's too were handled with ease, even more so than he had done with the demon brothers. The team continued on with their mission, and the following day, they wandered upon the remainder of the bandits had shown up. This time, it was roughly 24 bandits that had descended upon them. Sasuke and Naruto took one look at each other before the action started. This was most definitely a competition between the two of them now. Naruto ducked underneath one attack, responding by nailing the bandit in the stomach with a strong punch. This gave him a little breathing room as he summoned a few shadow clones to aid him. The clones soon went to work overpowering most of the bandits that had decided to take on, as they saw it, the short and stupid-looking one. Boy were they mistaken when they were hit by the wave of orange. After he was finished with his bandits, Naruto looked over to see Sasuke sitting on top of a pile of battered, beaten, and burned bandits. 7. Declared Naruto. Sasuke growled, having only beaten 6. That was before he noticed a forgotten bandit sneaking up behind him. Sasuke swung his foot at high speed around, catching the bandit in the side of the head, knocking him into a tree. There. 7. Naruto and Sasuke smirked at each other, satisfied that the other wasn't giving up so easily. A few days passed and Team 7 had returned to Konoha by that time. Today was designated as a training day for the team as Kakashi said that he had something to do. After lunch, Team 7 had met in an alleyway, waiting for Naruto, who had apparently forgotten something. Sakura was stuck waiting for Naruto as Sasuke and Haku had left to go train. When Naruto came back, he noticed something out of place. Is that supposed to be a rock? Naruto thought to himself. He took a few steps forward, only for the rock to follow him. Even the fox inside Naruto's head was confused at the rock. What the hell is that? Said Kurama. Don't even ask, Naruto said to his inner demon, dropping his head. Coming back to reality, he turned to face the rock. What kind of rock is square with 2 holes? I can see right through that. Just what I would expect from my rival, the rock said as it exploded, revealing Konohamaru, Moegi, and Udon. Oh, it's just you, Konohamaru. So what do you want now? Naruto asked, trying to get away from the kids so he could train and not let Sasuke get so far ahead of him. Leader, are you free? Moegi asked, trying to make herself cute and irresistible, which really doesn't work too well on Naruto. Nope, I'm training, Naruto said. Meanwhile, Sakura was standing slightly behind him, watching the whole endeavor. What? But you promised that you would play ninja with us today. Konohamaru shouted out. Why would a ninja want to play ninja? Sakura asked, staring at the 3 kids with a look of annoyance. Hey bro, who is this girl? Konohamaru asked Naruto. She's starting at him like she wants to eat him alive, he thought. Konohamaru got an idea in your head. Huh? Naruto asked, wondering what the kid was thinking. Not bad bro, she's your... He leaned closer to Naruto to whisper in his ear. Girlfriend? Hee, you brats are very perceptive, Naruto said, just as a fist made contact with his face, sending him flying back into a fence. Konohamaru turned to Sakura, who was now looked like she was ready to kill the 3 kids. How dare you, you ugly bitch, Konohamaru said, pushing his luck too far. Sakura smacked him, leaving just as many lumps on his head as Naruto had gotten. Once the 2 regained consciousness, Konohamaru still didn't learn his lesson. Damn it, that ugly huge foreheaded, is that really a girl? Naruto got a signal from the fox in his head to run as they turned around to see Sakura charging full steam towards them. Ouch, that hurt, Konohamaru said, running into something solid. When he looked up, he saw a ninja in black pants and a black shirt, with a bandaged bundle on his back, and paint on his face. Standing next to him was a girl in her mid-teens with blonde hair tied into 4 ponytails. On her back was what looked like a rather large collapsed fan. That hurt you little brat, the man with the painted face said,